Hello and welcome in, race fans, to tonight's event here in Southern Florida. We're at Homestead-Miami Speedway for tonight's race here in the Trinity Racing League. The sun is beating down on this racetrack, and we have 26 drivers and counting ready to take the green flag in a moment's time. Joining me alongside, as always, is co-host Tom Richter. How's it going today, Tom?
Hey Arie, happy Monday night to you. We are at race number 7 already of the Trinity Racing League, and tonight, Arie, we're at a very deceiving track, Homestead-Miami Speedway. The first track that we see really with progressive banking on the schedule, so we're going to see which drivers are able to move around and which ones are stuck going the wrong way over the next 160 laps, Arie. This one's going to be an exciting one to watch.
That it will be. We currently have a little under 4 minutes left in the opening practice hour. Top of the board so far has been driver 1, Josh Stovall, with a time of 33.803. Something interesting that these drivers are going to have to contend with for the second week in a row is that the starting state of the track in qualifying and into the race is going to be reset back to 0. Last week at Texas Motor Speedway, it was an unintentional feature that we got, and these drivers struggled quite a bit in qualifying into the first part of the race with tire wear and just how different it races than once it kind of rubbers in after an hour of practice or after enough time in the race. So that challenge is returning here in Miami as per a driver vote. Everyone thought it was interesting enough, so I'm going to be really curious to see how that plays out here, Tom.
Yeah, essentially what's going to happen is drivers have been practicing out here for the last 60 or so minutes, as we've got just about 2.5 minutes remaining here in open practice. Once this practice session's done, it's going to reset back to what practice originally started at, so that's going to allow the track to kind of build rubber in throughout the race. Drivers are going to have to move around, and who knows? I mean, maybe we see some tire wear like we saw last week at Texas.
Could very well be the case. We certainly don't have very many clouds in the sky, so we know the track temps are going to be a little up there today as well. Very curious to find out. I mean, this is a very multi-grooved racetrack, a little bit more than what we saw last week out in Texas, so we'll be curious to see which lines prevail, especially with the starting track conditions, starting state not being rubbered in or anything. That might give these drivers a little more opportunity to play around. Right now we're watching the 99 of Mike Miller. He's made 72 laps out here tonight in this practice hour so far. Usually the driver who's making the most laps. Another week, another iteration of doing so. Currently finds himself 8th on the board after 58 minutes.
Yeah, Mike Miller last week had a strong showing in practice, ran a bunch of laps, had a pretty good qualifying run as well, but came home 22nd last week at Texas Motor Speedway. Looking to improve here tonight at the South Beach of Homestead-Miami, and well, he's looking good so far as he's 8th on the board with just about a minute remaining. Other drivers at the top of the board right now: Josh Stovall, Noah Steele losing some point positions after his finish last week at Texas, and then Clint Cox the top 3.
Yeah, Noah Steele looking to bounce back in a big way here in Miami. Nolan Hickson 4th, Stephen Clapp in the 9 car, and P5 here in practice. It's an interesting collection of names up towards the top, Tom. I would say definitely a little different from, I think, the usual suspects, so to say, from week to week.
Yeah, absolutely, and I need a second to kind of clarify this, but I'm thinking that the first driver who's already got a win on the season, maybe you can fact check me here, on the board right now, you have to look all the way down to 7th before you find Chris Stitz, the winner at the opener at Echo Park.
Could very well be the case. I know I unfortunately had to miss a race or two here, so I will I will work on fact checking you on that one. But in the meantime, as the practice session gets ready to come to a close here in about 10 seconds or so, Ryan Kelly's still out there on track. We're getting ready to switch over to qualifying, and these drivers are going to have an interesting challenge in that the race or the track conditions, the track state, all that rubber, it's going away, and they're going to have to adapt very quickly.
Checkered flag falls over the hour practice that these drivers have as Larry Yingling takes the final lap here in opening practice. Josh Stovall, Noah Steele, Clint Cox going to be the fastest in opening practice as we switch over here to a 5-minute qualifying session. Arie, what do you do here for this qualifying? Obviously, the bottom lane is going to be the shorter way around, but the top's going to have the momentum. Is it enough momentum on these 2 qualifying laps?
It's an interesting debate. I don't know that I've ever qualified around Homestead-Miami with 0% track state with no rubber on the track, so I really can't say I know what the right answer is going to be, but my gut instinct is telling me to still run down and get onto the bottom of that racetrack in the corners, or at least maybe half a lane to a full lane up from that white line. We'll see what these drivers would like to do. First one we're going to be following along with is the 98 Supra of Isaac Shelley.
Isaac Shelley makes his way down into turn number 3, and he's going to stay at the top of the boards for the time being. Not really a surprise there. He's going to have enough momentum to carry off of turn number 4. The question that needs to be answered is, what does he do down here into turn number 1, and into 1 we go, and he's going to drop down to the bottom shelf.
Drops down, doesn't quite get to that bottom seam right there, so he's going to be running the middle lane. Is Shelley coming off of turn 2 right here. Be curious to see if lap 2s prove to be better than lap 1s out here. Given the track isn't rubbered in, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to play out. Typically, lap 2 is going to be a little bit better. We see Shelley running the high line through 3 and 4 here on this first time lapped, and going to come to the line with as much momentum as he can.
Across the start finish line as we wait for times to come across the board. Multiple drivers out on track right now. Isaac Shelley bested by Chris Stitz, working lap number 1, times coming in. Christopher Norris, Chris Stitz, Scott Richter, Josh Kanata, Isaac Shelley in the top 5 right now as more drivers post the time.
Down the back straightaway, Rockets, the 98, currently sitting P7 on the board as these times continue to roll in. This time through 3 and 4, Shelley's going to dive it all the way down to that bottom lane. Keep it pinned on exit towards the bottom of the racetrack. Get a good run off and to the line as we ride on board. Let's see where that 98 shoots that. Toyota Supra, it's going to be P4.
Second time going to be good enough for 4th for Isaac Shelley. We'll see how that holds up here over the next 3 minutes and counting as we follow Ryan Bird in the 49. New name at the top of the board. It's going to be Chris Stitz and Thomas Green on the front row.
Chris Stitz with the 33.965. That is the time to beat as it currently sits. Brandon Gass going to jump up to P6 as we watch Ryan Bird make his way through turns 3 and 4 for the final time on the final time lap for that Camaro. Going to come off of the corner and rocket to the line. Let's see where the 49 is going to jump. It's going to be good enough for P9.
9th, good enough for Ryan Bird for the time being, following the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik. Aaron, first time was 15th. We'll see what lap number 2 for Aaron will be. He's going to jump up to a top 10 as they run right now, following the 1 of Josh Stovall. He's working lap number 2 here for Josh.
All right, Josh was fastest in that practice hour. Really curious to see what the 1 car can do here in qualifying now that the track state has been reset. First lap was good enough for P4. See what that Tootsie's machine can do. Dives it down to the bottom lane, kind of rides up across that seam through 3 and 4 right here. Got to be careful not to lose the rear end doing that. Lets it ride all the way out to the wall and to the line for Stovall to complete his qualifying run. It's going to be P4.
4th for Stovall, fastest in practice, and currently looks like a top 5 starting position as we got probably about 7 or 8 more drivers looking to finish out their laps. One of those drivers looking to finish out their laps is Larry Yingling. Larry has been on a tear here recently. Maybe not the finishes, the flashy finishes for the 67, but he's had flashy speed throughout the races.
That he has, and you can't miss that bright red Ford Mustang out there on track. See what Yingling can do for the second time around. Hits the line, and that's going to be P9 in that effort for driver 67.
Cedric Hunter, one of our drivers out here in this familiar pink and white Toyota Camry Supra. Excuse me, Cedric Hunter halfway down the backstretch here. First time, good enough for 21st for Cedric. Looking to improve as currently 24 times are on the board. And passing here tonight is going to be at an absolute premium. We'll see what he's able to improve. Lap number 2 to across the start-finish line. Looks like he's going to jump up to 9th place.
Jumps up to P9 as Jared Talmadge jumps up to the top spot late in this qualifying run. It's going to be 4/100ths of a second faster than Chris Stitz, down to P2. So new provisional pole sitter as there are now no more drivers out on track. That looks to be everyone who's going to go out there and make an attempt in this qualifying session, the 27, with a last-minute push to get that pole ahead of Chris Stitz in P2.
You know, Arie, we come out here tonight, 160 laps scheduled for tonight's race distance. After what we saw last week at Texas, 1, you had tire wear. 2, you only had 1 caution. It happened on lap number 1. I think you start to have to approach tonight's race maybe
Some slight technical difficulties there with Tom getting cut off and interrupted as the qualifying session has come to an end, and we can take a look at our official qualifying results. Let's take a look at tonight's grid if we can get this pulled up. Not so far we can't. We will work with this. We're trying to figure this out for just a moment here. We will hold on that one as these drivers head out on track for their 5-minute warm-up session. And in the meantime, figure out where Tom went. Possibly some internet connection issues. Good thing we got this 5-minute warm-up. I tell you what, we're getting a suggestion out there in the chat to speak to driver number 7, Cedric Hunter. Let's see if we can't pull up driver number 7 and get a word or two with old Cedric Hunter. Let's see if we can find driver the Hello Kitty machine. All right, we got driver number 7, Cedric Hunter, in the booth here as we get through this 5-minute warm-up session right here. Cedric, do you copy?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
All right. Well, I tell you what, we're getting word out there in chat that that both you're usually good at Homestead and that we can ask you why you run the Hello Kitty scheme. So I've got to ask both of those questions. How are you feeling about tonight, and what's the story behind the Hello Kitty ride?
Good. I assume that's Nick out there in the chat watching. I'm feeling decent about tonight. This track, I used to be really, really good here, and the last few years have kind of been a struggle, so it's kind of wishy-washy. Hopefully I'm good. I guess we'll see how it plays out. It's very warm. I think tire wear is going to be huge, which kind of helps me out. So the reason why I run the Hello Kitty scheme is because back in, I want to say 2017, during the 24 hours at Nürburgring, my team and I decided to just kind of have a bet or whatever of whoever brings out the most incidents per lap by the end of the race has to run a kind of meme scheme, and I had a complete mental collapse on with 2 laps to go in that race, and I ended up having the most. And then the choices were either like this kind of car, like a Hello Kitty car, or like a Barbie or something like that. And I chose Hello Kitty, and I got such good reception, and the broadcasters at the time loved it and all that stuff. So I figured, you know what, let's just make it a permanent thing. And I've kind of more or less become iconic for it, so it's a good time.
All right, I love a good story behind the paint scheme right there. Well, I'll tell you what, looking forward to see that 7 car out here on track tonight, especially with the new conditions being thrown in there with the 0% starting state like last week. So good luck out there tonight, and hopefully we talk to you by the end.
I appreciate it, guys, and yeah, fingers crossed.
All right, that is driver number 7. Here in our quick little warm-up before we set the grid officially. Before we take a look at the grid officially, we've got Cody Reed out on track in that 25. Number of drivers out on track getting some last-minute laps in, especially with the altered track state from what is normal here. I'm sure these drivers are antsy to go out there and kind of feel it out in this last moment before we get underway. See, still some technical difficulties going on with some of our timing and scoring here.
Arie, as we work to get a reset on that here, you know, we come out here and I'm not sure if you caught this before. It may have been right before I had a moment, but after last week's race at Texas Motor Speedway, you got to think tonight, maybe you come into this race a little bit more conservative than what you have done over the previous weeks. Obviously, last week at Texas Motor Speedway, tire wear, only 1 caution over the 160 plus laps that those drivers completed. So going to be a challenge for these drivers out here tonight to see how they approach tonight's event.
Yeah, certainly, and I'll be real curious to see if we get another race with little to no incident yellows happening, if it's going to be one big long green flag run most of the way through. The field had gotten spread out, and in such a way last week in Texas, it was really interesting. We ended up getting multiple different pit strategies that had developed, and it was fun to watch all the way down to the checkered flag. Well, here we go then. That warm-up is over, and it is officially time for us to take a look at the starting grid for tonight's event here in Miami. Let's run you through the order before we get started here, as we've got the wrong results up on screen. Let me swap that over real quick to qualifying if we can. Are you able to select that, Tom? Because I'm not able to select that.
Well, let's take a look here. I was seeing the same thing. Yeah, looks like this may be it.
All right, here we have it. Driver 27. We saw it in qualifying. Jared Talmadge going to take the pole here tonight ahead of Chris Stitz in P2. Thomas Green qualifies P3 ahead of Chris Norris in P4. Josh Stovall rounds out the top 5. Ryan Kelly is going to be qualifying in P6 ahead of Clint Cox in P7. Isaac Shelley in the 98 starts off tonight's race in P8 ahead of Cedric Hunter in P9 we spoke to in the warm-up. Sam Garcia rounds out the top 10 for tonight's start.
Starting 11th out here tonight, going to be Brandon Gass in the 29. Larry Yingling in the 67. Can he close out here tonight and pick up a win? Scott Rickard rolls off 13th with Nolan Hicks in 14th. Aaron Krolick in the 01 rolls off with the top 15 starting position. Ryan Bird in the 49 rolls off 16th, and Josh Kanata directly behind him in 17th. Cody Reed, Thomas Walter, and Josh Sawyer, the top 20.
In 21st, it's going to be Stephen Clapp in the 9 machine. Ben Kinney starts in P22. We've got Ollie Fonseca in P23, Chris Stamper 24th, Mark Labertone in P25, and shotgun on the field is going to be Justin Campbell in the 2 machine and Noah Steele in the 8.
Interesting call here for Justin Campbell. Something that we've kind of picked up on the past couple of weeks, Justin Campbell not liking to qualify out here, and well, we'll see where he is able to finish. Long way to go, 160 laps to get there, but the driver's second in points, electing not to take a qualifying time here, as well as Noah Steele.
Going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and yeah, an interesting strategy from Campbell in the 2 machine. We're going to see here as these drivers have all gridded up on pit road, getting ready to start our pace laps here in Miami. We've got 160 laps out here this evening. I believe the same lap count as we had last week in Texas. So we'll see if we get a similar race here tonight, or if this one's going to look just a little bit different.
The field of 27, make it 28 cars, rolls off the pit road for the first time behind the pace car, as we get set to do racing out here tonight from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Arie, this track is very difficult. I think we're going to see 3 very distinctive lines out here, and each one has its benefits versus the cost.
They absolutely do, and last week in Texas with the 0% starting state on the track rubber, we saw a number of drivers have a really good first part of the race, first stint of the race, and then not so good throughout the rest of it. We saw some drivers really struggle at the beginning of the race last week, and they came back to do pretty good once the track rubbered in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of comers and goers throughout the first half of the race.
All right, pace car is going to be down, and the field behind Jared Talmadge and Chris Stitz going to bring us to the green flag for the first time out here tonight for the Life's a Beach 250 in Homestead-Miami Speedway. Jared Talmadge on the inside, Chris Stitz on the outside. Thomas Green and Christopher Norris make up row number 2. By the time we get into turn number 1, we're 3 wide for about 7th or 8th place.
We are already 3 wide on the racetrack into turns 1 and 2, but it looks like these drivers are getting themselves sorted out bit by bit. Down the back straightaway we go, 2 by 2 by 3. As everyone jockeys for position here, it is anyone's game as Jared Talmadge leads us through 3 and 4. The 3 of Thomas Green's going to get up to P2, and we've got trouble behind.
Trouble already. Lap number 1. Shades of last week. Stephen Clapp issues for the number 9, and that is heavy damage. He's got 3 wheels spinning on that number 9. Let's back this up. Looks like maybe also Aaron Krolick may have caught a piece of this as well, as Stephen has made his way to the pits. All right, so lap number 1 here. You can see Aaron Kralik up on the outside, and that black-gray number 01, Stephen Clapp, all the way on the inside here. They're pretty far apart right now on the entry into what looks to be turn number 3. And then, I mean, the 01's coming down, but the 9 is definitely going up there as well, and that's kind of just a bad spot. Joshua Sawyer, literally the definition of wrong place, wrong time there.
Yeah, certainly the case. I would love to get a look at this maybe a little further back and see if we can't see what's going on right here, because the
Something
9
happened
gets...
to Josh Canada there as well.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. That's where the 9 gets that front end damage, and even Ollie Fonseca is going to get some damage back there. Or it looked like maybe for a moment, as there was a big stack up, I guess, on the back straightaway coming out of turn 2. Comes back up on the track to re-merge as the 01's taking that line and came together at the worst possible time. The 19 nowhere to go, and that's going to be significant damage for both the 9 and the 01.
Let's grab a replay from the initial start of the race here, and let's follow along here. We're going to speed this on up. So we're on board here with Stephen Clapp. Be interested to see what happens to Josh Canada, who's about 4 rows up on the outside. You can see him in that purple and green car. But this is the initial start of the race, and everything so far looks pretty okay.
Yeah, so far so good. Getting up the speed, getting up through the gears, heading down into turns 1 and 2, being a little cautious on corner entry as you should here on lap number 1. This is where it's all going to start to fall apart. And it looks like there's a little contact up ahead. There's that big checkup right there. Starts with Kralik in the 01 as we continue to ride on board with the 9 of Clapp. Gets back up on track to re-merge and then comes together. And oh my goodness.
2 races in a row, an incident on lap number 1. Tonight it affects Aaron Kralik in the 01, Stephen Clapp, Josh Sawyer, and I want to say Thomas Walter as well. Yeah, Thomas got some significant damage on the rear end of that 57 Chevy Camaro. So a couple of drivers behind the 8 ball here early as we're coming to the 1 to go.
All right, choose rule in effect for these drivers, all electing which lane they're going to be starting in here on the front straightaway as the lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, and we get ready to get back green. Could this be shades of what we saw last week in Texas, Tom? We did have an incident caution on lap 1 and went green the rest of the way.
I mean, I don't want to say yes, but this is exactly how it started last week at Texas Motor Speedway, and then we saw a clean and green flag racing from there on out all the way to the black and white checkered flag at the end of the race. And if you're Chris Stitz, if you're Jared Tomich, Chris Norris, that's already got to be creeping into the back of your mind.
Surely the case. And these guys up towards the front of the field feeling okay about where they're at in track position if that were to be the case. Everyone following the lead of the 27. Jared Talmadge in control of this race. Chris Stitz remains on the front row. Pretty much all of the positions up through the top 8 remain unchanged. Here at the start of the race, everyone's gotten to get up to speed once, get through a couple of corners. We'll see how everyone handles restart number 2.
Attempt number 2 of this evening as we wait on Barney. He's got the flag up in the air, and he's about to wave it and send us on our way once again. As it was a few laps ago, Jared Talmadge, Chris Stitz going to be the front row as we get set to go racing down into turn number 1. We go into the south end of the speedway. Jared Talmadge able to jump out again with about a half a car length lead. He's got Thomas Green quick in tow.
Down through turns 1 and 2 we go. The 27 in control of this race. It's going to be too wide for P2. Thomas Green in the 3 just going to clear as we head down the back straightaway. Bring Chris Norris in the 38 into the picture.
The 38 of Norris started 4th out here tonight. Looks to advance his position early in the going as he's on the inside of Chris Stitz in the 17. He's going to be able to make that pass. Door bumper clear by the time they get on the exit of turn number 4. Now he sets his sights on Thomas Green, who is trailing the race leader, Jared Talmadge, after 6 laps.
All right, you can see everyone getting into a single file line more or less a lot sooner this time on the restart. A lot less jockeying 2 and 3 wide for these positions. Thomas Green moves up the racetrack in that 3 machine, looking to take the lead away early here in this race down the back straightaway. And I can't help but wonder if the 27 is just going to let the 3 take this without too much of a fight, given the track is not rubbered in and these drivers are very much feeling it out in the early stages.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if that's the case, as Thomas Green is able to take that lap and take the lead and lead that lap here from the 27. And Jared Talmadge put Thomas Green up to the point of this race. Now he's kind of in a position. here is, you know, how hard do you run? I mean, I would imagine we're probably going to get somewhere in the realm of 40 to 45 laps on a tank of fuel out here this evening, maybe a couple of more with the early caution out here. But this very well also could turn into a fuel run race if we do not see another yellow.
Could very well, as something we're going to be keeping our eyes on as the race develops. Cross the line this time, Thomas Green still in control. We got to go back quite a bit to find our first battle for position. It's Cody Reed and Sam Garcia battling it out for P12 on track. Garcia to the inside, and Reed, one of the few drivers stuck in that middle to higher line.
Another driver in this camera shot as well, going to be Scott Richter in the 05 Camaro, working the inside line, trying to follow the draft of the 50 of Sam Garcia on the entry into the south end of the Speedway. Tries to chase around Sam as the inside line there going to start to single file out, but Cody Reed still trying to keep the momentum on the outside. Couple of drivers going to fall into the wake of Cody Reed down the front stretch here. Give Brandon Gass now up for position number 11.
All right, Reed making that middle lane work at this point in the race, doing so pretty comfortably, but will this come back to bite in terms of that tire wear? Running up the lane just a little bit like that. It seems like the preferred line for all of these drivers are going to be right down there on that white line, running the bottom through both of these corners. I'll be curious to see, Tom, as the tires start to wear and become a lot noticeably worse. Do drivers start playing around with what line they're running at that point, or is it more so once the track starts to rubber in?
Yeah, I think it's probably. I think we're going to see probably the first run drivers maybe experimenting with different lines and, you know, maybe also taking note of your competitors, right? You know, drivers are taking note of Thomas Green making the pass on the outside. They're taking note of Cody Reed on the back there running the outside. They're taking note of Ryan Kelly using the outside. So if you're a driver like Jared Talmadge, if you're a driver like Christopher Norris right now, all these little things, they go into a little mental notebook and they're going to get useful at the end of the stages.
That they are, as we see Chris Stitz in the 17 moving up to P2, getting ahead of Jared Talmadge in that 27. Talmadge in no rush to go back up there and challenge for the race lead. Our pole sitter tonight led the first handful of laps and has now fallen back to P3, but I don't think that's going to be the last we see out of the 27 battling for the lead. I think this go around, after seeing what happened in Texas last week, he's going to be playing this first stint pretty patiently.
Absolutely, here on board with the 98 of Isaac Shelley. Close on the rear bumper of the 38 of Christopher Norris, Isaac Shelley. One of the bigger movers in tonight's early goings of the race, already up 3 spots from the qualifying positions. Other drivers going in the right direction. You got Justin Campbell. Remember, did not take a qualifying time for that number 2 Supra. So some drivers going in the right direction.
That they are up 3 spots for Shelley. Cody Reed further back. He's up 7 spots. We'd seen him up in that middle lane right there. So that middle lane is doing work for the drivers who are willing to run it. And I've noticed that even for the drivers who are running that middle lane in the racetrack, they're keeping it pinned as much as they can to the inside lane. They're staying as close to that inside lane as they can, probably a mixture of both giving that bottom lane less room to work with, but also making sure they're not running too far up the racetrack themselves so that they can keep their tires in check.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Arie, where you do have 3 very workable lines here, and I think you need to commit to one and be with that one for the entirety of the corner. You know, if you're going to be on the inside line, let the left front hook the white line around there. If you're going to be in the middle, try to use that track seam to kind of guide the car around. And if you're electing to use the outside line, well, just commit to it and stay above that outside lane, that outside seam right there. Those are the kind of the distinguishing markers around Homestead-Miami Speedway as Cody Reed gets passed here by Cedric Hunter. This is going to be a change for a top 10 running position.
That it is, and a potential move a little further up as Clint Cox peeks that nose to the inside of Ryan Kelly. That door is going to be shut, and Hunter and Reed are back at it again through turns 3 and 4. Cody Reed with a strong run on that middle line, going to carry that momentum down the front straightaway and try and take this position, maybe clear by corner entry right here. Going to be clear, but Reed still fancying that middle lane.
He's going to be clear on the entry into turn number 1. Now he's got Larry Yingling directly in front of him here. And he's going to have a little bit of momentum here on the backstretch, running a little bit higher in turns 1 and 2. Take a look, see what Cody Reed in the 25 does by the time we get down to turn number 3. He's going to elect to stay up on that middle lane put that left front right up on the right rear of the 67 of Larry Yingling, give that spot the 9th place running position to driver number 25, Cody Reed.
Well, there we go. We can see just how well that middle lane is working for that 25 machine, up 9 positions from where he started this race. Another driver who's making moves. We talked about him after qualifying, elected not to take a time. It's Justin Campbell in that 2 machine, up 10 spots, now running in P16 and bringing a couple of names with him. Ollie Fonseca in 18th, Noah Steele in 19th. Those drivers are moving up big time as well.
Yeah, Justin Campbell, 6 starts on the season. He's been here for all 6 races throughout the early parts of this season. 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. As he currently sits 2nd in points, tied actually with Chris Stitz coming into tonight's event. So some points on the line for 2nd in points. So we'll see how Justin is able to march his way forward as he puts a door on the 16 of Josh Kanata through turns 1 and 2, but Justin Campbell up another spot.
That they do, and wow, these guys are... The 19 car is not having a great time over the past couple of laps. Had a hard time, couldn't get it back out of the wall 1 lap ago. This time makes contact with the 99, nearly goes around. Everyone's keeping it all clean and green for the time being, but getting a little dicey back here in the pack with Mike Miller and Josh Sawyer a little further up in the field. These drivers still not getting away from one another for the most part. Thomas Green continues to lead in that 3 machine, bringing Chris Stitz along with Isaac Shelley in P3, Jarrett Talmadge and Chris Norris round out our top 5.
Yeah, something interesting here, Arie, is that Chris Stitz started 2nd in. That's where he currently runs. Lost a couple of spots in the opening laps and has fought his way back up to a 2nd place running position. Last time by, let's double check that. Last time by, last 2 laps, Chris Stitz actually a little bit faster than Thomas Green here. So just under 20 laps into tonight's event, and maybe already starting to see the effects of some tire wear. Remember, this track started at a 0% state out here. So the first 20, 30, 40 laps of tonight's race going to determine what the track feels like and races like for the rest of the race.
That it will, and one thing I noticed through turns 1 and 2 right there was that Chris Stitz gets back on the throttle a little sooner through the middle of the corner than what we're seeing on board with race leader Thomas Green, who's getting on throttle just a little bit later in the corner. That's given the 17 the advantage all the way down these straightaways. At some point, he should have an opportunity to stick a nose in there and try to make a move.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very long before we see a battle for the race lead. He needs to set him up on the corner exit, and last couple of times not able to do that. This time by, he's going to be about a car length and a half back, so he's going to have to reset for at least 1 more set of corners. But driver who's kind of staying in this camera frame as well, Isaac Shelley, moving forward after 20 laps of green flag racing out here tonight. Isaac Shelley has made his way up to 3rd and is also a little bit faster than the race leaders.
That he is. Now we're starting to see at this point in the race, as we work lap 21, we're starting to see some of the comers, some of the goers, as these tires start to be felt in a big way. Track is slowly getting rubbered in, but we're not going to be to that proper rubbered in state until I think we get that first round of green flag pit stops out of the way.
Thomas Green on the inside, Chris Stitz on the inside as well, and Isaac Shelley following suit as drivers make their way out of turn number 4. They're going to cross the start-finish line to complete lap number 21 of 160 out here tonight. 1 caution, 4 incidents so far. 2 drivers out of the race. That's Aaron Krolick, Stephen Clapp, drivers involved in that lap number 1 incident. As we get set to continue our march down the backstretch here, Chris Stitz still about a car length and a half back here. This seems to start to be stabilizing a little bit.
Yeah, and one thing I'm noticing, Tom, all throughout the field is that there are no significant gaps in the field, first all the way down through 24th. There is no gap larger than about 0.7 of a second between any 2 drivers, which is very interesting. 23 laps into a run as we see Chris Stitz dive down to the inside of Thomas Green in the 3. Green is going to keep that 17 pinched all the way down on that white line, not going to give him an inch of breathing room, and I think that's probably going to be a trend that we see all throughout tonight's race here, Tom, is using that middle lane to defend. If you want to make it pass, you're probably going to have to try and get to the outside.
Yeah, and I mean, Thomas Green played that perfectly down there in turn 1 last time. Chris Stitz took a look down to the inside, and Thomas Green answered the call by running a little bit higher than he has been running, but also using as much of the inside line as he was able to prevent Chris Stitz from putting down the power by the time they get through the apex of the corner. And that showed as Thomas Green now by about a quarter of a second still the race leader.
That he is. Chris Stitz now looking to regroup and make another attempt at it, but he has got a mirror full of the 98 of Isaac Shelley, up 5 positions from where he started this race. So Shelley not out of this conversation for the race lead yet. Jared Talmadge still lurking back there in P4. Chris Norris in 5th. Looking down through the running order, a couple of close battles going on further back in the pack. The 16 and 05, Kanata and Richter battling it out for P13 right here, just behind the 50 of Sam Garcia.
See a little bit of a wiggle from Josh Kanata as he gets through turns 1 and 2, and a bigger wiggle on the exit of turn number 2. That's going to allow Scott Rickard in the 05 to make the pass once again on the 16 Supra of Josh Kanata. Give 13th place to Scott Rickard as they run, as Josh Kanata may be under fire here in the next lap or two from Brandon Gass. That 16 looks like he is handling pretty bad right now. We were talking with Josh before tonight's race, and he said, what was the phrase he used? Did he say baking? I think that's what he said.
I'm not entirely sure.
I think he said it was baking. 125 degree track temperature in their practice.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. I tell you, another thing Kanata was telling us was not to curse him with the Kanata cam. Well, here we are riding on board with the 16. I wanted to see just how much he's struggling with the handling. He's going to be one of the first drivers who's moving all the way up to this top lane right here, using this seam to try and help rotate the rear end here on corner. Actually, you can see him playing with the wheel right there. Usually the best indication for how a car is handling is just looking at that steering wheel. How smooth are the inputs versus how choppy? We can see Cody Reed, a couple of cars up the track, also running up in this high lane as of right now. So it looks like as these tires get into this long run window, a little bit more line experimentation.
The car is definitely rotating. That is a fact, is these cars are rotating out here this afternoon from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Josh Kanata down to 13th as he's made his way around the 50, but you could see drivers just sliding every corner, every exit of the corner, trying to keep these O'Reilly Xfinity cars underneath them through this 1.5-mile track of Homestead. But Isaac Shelley still runs 3rd. Chris Stitz still in 2nd. Thomas Green still the race leader. Jared Talmadge, though, starting to slowly close in here on the race leader as he's still in 4th, but closing the gap.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Tom, through turns 1 and 2 on this lap, both 2nd and 3rd place had moved all the way up to the wall, which I thought was pretty interesting. A couple of drivers now throughout the field starting to feel a little more confident exploring with what lane they want to be running. Shelley's going to give that inside line to the 27 of Talmadge. He's going to run a lane up on the inside as well as that 98 tries to make it work up off of the wall. He's not going to do it. He gets cleared by the 27 right there. So Talmadge looks like he's got a good amount of grip still at this point in the run.
Obviously here, Arie, you just want to be the car moving forward if you're making a pass, right? But with the track this loose and with as many cars handling as ill as we've seen, do you prefer to try to make your passes on the inside or the outside, considering that the driver next to you is sideways half the corner?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I tend to favor the inside in these situations. I think if you have a loose race car, it feels like running in the outside just makes it even worse, given how you have to run, especially here at like Homestead-Miami, for example. So I tend to prefer what we see out of that 27 or even out of the 38 right here as Shelley continues to navigate the ill handling effects of being on this long run now, 30 laps in. Here in Miami, we see Josh Stovall in the one creeping up into the picture. Let's not forget Josh Stovall running at P6 was fastest in practice, so we know that one car is capable of good things out here tonight.
Certainly capable to have good finishes out here. Josh tries to get his first win of the season here in the Trinity Racing League. We'll see if tonight is the night that he can close the loop, but Jared Talmadge, the pole sitter from tonight's event, started on the front row, starting in the pole position. Now battling once again for 2nd place. Saw him lose a couple of positions in the opening 30 laps out here. Now that 27, as expected, moving forward again.
That he is, to the inside of Chris Stitz, and Stitz not looking to fight that all too much. Going to be running that outside lane, just doing his best to not be slowed down by what's happening around him. And the 27 is going to move up to P2, now looks to chase down race leader Thomas Green.
By 3.5 tenths of a second, that's the gap as they were on the exit of turn number 2. But I have a feeling we're going to see this 27 start to close in on race leader Thomas Green. Sliding back a little bit, we got Scott Richter, Larry Engling battling. This is going to be a battle for the 11th position back here. Josh Kanata directly behind this group, and more Sam Garcia, Ali Fonseca, all within camera shot.
That's right. We're starting to see a number of drivers moving up or moving down in the running order as these tires hit this big fall-off cliff at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some drivers drop down on pit road who just weren't able to manage the tires well enough and kind of need to before they're put into the fuel window just off of excessive tire wear alone, something that we saw a lot of last week in Texas.
Yeah, I would be surprised if we see that out here tonight, Arie. That was the first time that I've seen it in a long time here on the iRacing service, and not sure if it had to do with the 0% track state, which drivers are working with the same exact thing out here tonight, or if it was just kind of one of those quirks of a legacy track. Remember last week we didn't run the new updated revamped version of Texas Motor Speedway. We ran the old, I guess, pre 2021 maybe version of Texas.
I want to say, I don't remember what year it was reconfigured as a matter of fact. It was sometime around there for sure, but yeah, to your point, it was an older version of that racetrack, so could be something to play into, or something that's being played into here. I know last week in Texas, before we got to that proper first fuel window, we had seen a number of drivers actually get the meatball flag for having tires that were going down.
Yeah, and that's the question that needs to be answered out here tonight, as we can see drivers fight in these machines out here this Monday evening. Do we see the same effect on the tires? But now Jarrett Talmadge all over the back of Thomas Green, and we're going to have a battle for the race lead by the time we come off turn number 4, working lap number 35 in the books to begin 36. Talmadge to the inside, Green on the outside. Into turn 1 they go.
Down into turn 1, side by side. Green going to take that defensive middle lane, trying to pinch that 27 all the way down on the racetrack as much as he can. Talmadge has a lot of grip left in those tires for 36 laps into the run. He's going to be able to keep it about dead even down the back straightaway and into turn 3. Where does Green go? Green is going to keep him pinned on the inside right here. That's going to cause Talmadge to have to get out of the throttle. It's going to tighten up that race car just a little bit. He doesn't have the room to work with up the racetrack, and that is the perfect defensive move if you're the 3.
We saw this exact move work with Chris Stitz about 10-15 laps ago, where Chris tried to make a pass on the inside of the 3, and Thomas Green planted the left side of that 3 Camaro down on the inside line, down on the right door of the driver on the inside, and works again here as he looks to defend the race lead, this time over Jarrett Talmadge, the only driver with multiple wins on the season and the points leader coming into tonight's event.
That's right. Thomas Green doing a great job out here tonight, taking the challenge to that 27. He is going to get loose off of turn 4. That opens the door. 27 tries to peek a nose. He's going to have to tuck back into line for now and set up this move again. He's going to go to the outside for the first time this evening.
Jarrett Talmadge to the outside. Thomas Green to the inside. We'll see the momentum here from Talmadge on the exit of turn number 2, and he's got a big run down the backstretch. He's going to take a look to the inside. He's going to be to the quarter panel by they get to the entry of turn number 3, but it may be a mirrored image of what we saw a couple of moments ago with Thomas Green still protecting the outside line there.
Well, I'll tell you what, the 27 did not get pinched as hard through 3 and 4 that time. That's going to keep him alongside the 3 down into turns 1 and 2. How aggressive does Green get defending? He's going to get pretty aggressive, keeping that 27 down there, but Talmadge isn't having it. He's going to move the 3 up the racetrack just a little bit, and the 3 is going to get sideways out of turn 2. That's going to give to the 27 just enough room to retake the race lead as Thomas Green is forced to fall back into line and see if he can't hold on to the rear end of that Camaro.
Give the race lead as we get set to begin lap number 40 to Jarrett Talmadge out here, new race leader. And that's kind of what you got to do, Arie. If somebody's pinching you down, you got to kind of go in there. Obviously don't make any sort of unavoidable contact with the car up on the outside, but you have to put yourself in the best possible position and sometimes that means running a half a lane higher than what you normally are and forcing the driver on the outside to adjust. Jared Talmadge was able to do that and set sail on the lead with almost a half a second lead.
That he has been able to do. So Jared Talmadge in control here on the long run in Miami, 40 laps into this 160 lap event. We're riding with Cedric Hunter in the 7, who has moved up past the 98 of Shelley. Let's not forget, Shelley was running in P3 earlier in the race, so Shelley, one of those drivers who's struggling on the longer run, is Cody Reed is going to come down onto pit road now. Going to be one of the first drivers to come down as, issues for Mark Labertone.
I think Mark Labertone there was trying to make his way onto pit road and probably missed it there. Let's grab. Mark says you don't need to grab the replay here. Let's grab a look here and see Mark trying to get onto pit road. Yeah, he's gonna try to get down there, but realizes that there's barrels there and couldn't commit to making pit road. So that really hurts him because now he's slowed down all the way to almost pit road speed and has to get back up and make another lap.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, Tom, you could probably take some notes out of Labertone's book right there, avoiding the pit road barrels.
I knew that was coming. Quarter of the way through tonight's event, Jared Talmadge now opening the lead over Thomas Green. Couple of drivers already on pit road. Mark Labertone did successfully pit his next time by, so Mark Labertone on pit road. Cody Reed on and off pit road for service as well. Looks like Joshua Sawyer has already been down and out as well.
Well, look at this. We have got quite the hornet's nest developing right here. Cody Reed on those brand new tires wants to go places and make use of those 4 fresh Goodyears, but right now finds himself in quite the pickle, or a sandwich, I guess, that Noah Steele and Justin Campbell sandwich, as he's going to go to the outside now of some of the drivers ahead of him. I tell you what, this has got to be a pretty fascinating ride on board with the 25 of Cody Reed, who looks like he's running on easy mode. At the moment, being one of the first drivers on 4 fresh tires. You can see just how much faster. That is pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look here. We'll grab the time here for Cody Reed. As Isaac Shelley also on pit road. That time by for Cody Reed, 35.3 to the leaders, 36. Some even in the 37-second bracket range, and that's in traffic back here as well.
Yeah, so Cody Reed with this early pit stop going to be making up a ton of time on track. A very big undercut right here for the 25. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cody Reed as the race leader at the end of this pit stop sequence, at least for a moment. As everyone is staying out right now, they will end up having better tires in the long run right here, but Cody Reed going to be taking advantage for as long as he is able, riding on board with Isaac Shelley, another driver who made this early pit stop here, and going to be making up a lot of time on track at this point.
Yes, he certainly is. He is currently closing on the back of the 0-3 of Clint Cox out here this evening. We'll see. I mean, that's the 8th place car that he just passed, so you can see the speed difference here, and, well, we'll see when the leaders decide to come down pit road. Isaac Shelley was up there far enough towards the front of the field that I think a lot of drivers, if I was out there, I would have answered that call and maybe come down the following lap or the one after that. But these leaders all stay out on the track right now. First car with fresh tires, that's going to be Cody Reed, but all the way back in 22nd. But notably, Arie, both Reed and Isaac Shelley on the lead lap.
That they are, and I tell you what, we're starting to see a differing strategy call. You can split this race into 40 lap segments, 40, 80, 120, 160 to get to the end, and I think that's what we're seeing out of drivers like the 25 of Reed or the 98 of Shelley. Now, most of these drivers who are remaining out there on track here at lap 47 at this point, they're going to be running the fuel dry, getting as far as they can to try and cut one pit stop out of that. The downside to that is that they're going to be spending more time on these older tires running slower lap times, and of course the upside is that you save an entire pit stop's worth of time by the end of the race. So this is something that we saw last week in Texas come to a head, with a number of drivers choosing one strategy, a number of drivers choosing another strategy, and seeing how that all prevailed. Last week in Texas, cutting out that additional pit stop was the winning strategy, so we'll see what happens here tonight.
Yeah, drivers currently, to kind of give a little bit of context here, drivers qualified in the 34-second bracket, 34 34.3, 34.2, looking up and down the timing charts here. They're currently running 36.9s, 37s for the majority of the top 10. So 2.5, maybe 3 seconds on a bad lap is the tire difference.
Yeah, and that's pretty significant as we see Justin Campbell dive down on pit road. They're on lap 48. Jumping around through the field at some of these close battles happening on track. They're close battles for a moment and then not very long-lived with where the tires are at this point. Drivers will get close and then they'll be a second apart the next lap. These drivers have their hands full at this point, just trying to nurse these race cars around until they are able to use up as much fuel as they can to put themselves on a strategy with the best chance of cutting out that additional pit stop.
Justin Campbell on and off pit road for scheduled service out here this evening. Started 25th out here tonight for Justin Campbell, as Isaac Shelley able to drive around the race leader here and put himself back up on the lead lap here. Isaac Shelley drives around with ease as we swap back over here. Brandon Gass and Josh Stovall. This is a battle for the 7th place running position.
And they might just bring Clint Cox into this picture as well, as Gass is going to move up this position right here. Remember last week in Texas, Brandon Gass out at 29. He was one of the drivers who was able to stretch it the furthest as we go 3 wide just behind, with Clint Cox making that move on Stovall. Going to be bringing Nolan Hicks along with. It's going to be a 2-for right there in the wrong direction for the 1 machine, as Hicks looks to move that Taco Bell machine a little further up in the running order as well. Lots of jockeying for position as these drivers start to get to the final reaches of what they can manage on a tank of fuel. We are now 51 laps in.
So a couple of these drivers were kind of split across the board here, where you have drivers pitting on lap number 38, 40, 41, 42, 47. If you're one of the race leaders here, I feel like having that 7, 8, 9 lap split there makes your decisions maybe a little bit more difficult. If you had everybody come down within a 2 or 3 lap window, it would be very easy to say, okay, I need to run 15 more laps than them. But how do you manage that when you've got 10 different pit times or pit laps there?
Yeah, it's a great question to consider, and we're going to see what these drivers decide. I'm going to be curious to see, of these drivers who are stretching their tanks all the way out, who are going to be the first 1 or 2 to bite. We kind of know, Cody Reed, Isaac Shelley, those are going to be the drivers in control once everyone has made their pit stops. But out of these drivers running this strategy, will it be the race leader? Will it be Thomas Green from P2? Will we see someone a little further back in the top 5 make that first move, as we are now working lap 53. This time around, we should be just about in that window to pit now and be able to run the rest of the race with that 1 fewer pit stop.
Yeah, I think if they pit now, you'd probably see them on pit road maybe around 110, maybe the 107 to 110 range, and then that kind of splits the race into 350 segment runs instead of 440 lap runs. So we'll see. But Jared Talmadge, Thomas Green still out on the racetrack. Thomas Green's actually being pressured right now for 2nd place from Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly up 3 positions from his qualifying run, looks to take 2nd place away from the 3.
That's right. We got a couple of pit stops this last time around. Josh Kanata in the 16, Ollie Fonseca on pit road, Samuel Garcia on pit road, all drivers who are running a little further back in the pack. So none of our top 10 runners deciding to dive down quite yet, but I think we're getting pretty close to seeing a couple of these drivers elect to do so. It's not going to be any of the top 3 this time around.
Thomas Green able to protect 2nd place for the time being. Justin Campbell on the move here. He's got, is that Chris Stitz up on the outside? Want to say that's Brandon Gass in what looks to be the middle there. He's going to slot back down to the inside, put Justin Campbell up and around the 17 of Chris Stitz, with Brandon Gass following suit. Other drivers out on pit road. Looks like Sam Garcia, Josh Kanata also on pit road, as well as Mike Miller. So the entire top 15 here, all the way from Jarrett Talmadge to Chris Stamper, yet to hit pit road.
That they are, as Brandon Gass now moves up to P4. He's up 7 positions from where he started this race, and here we go. Chris Stitz going to be the first driver out of the top 5 to make that move. Going to be bringing Chris Norris, Clint Cox, and Ryan Bird, along with 4 drivers down on pit road right here, coming to lap 56.
Chris Stamper also going to follow into pit road, a couple of seconds behind that big group. That's the largest group that we've seen come down together onto pit road, and I think that question just found a, I guess we'll call it a tentative answer here. They pit on lap number 55 for them, so that tells me we're looking at 110 as their next scheduled stop.
And that would be enough to get these drivers to the end. We are comfortably in the window to have that additional pit stop cut out of the equation. I think if you're one of these 3 drivers up towards the front of the field, you're feeling pretty good about running the fuel tank as far out as you can and just giving yourself as good of tires on the back end of these runs as you possibly can. Feeling pretty comfortable at this point despite all the tire wear given the track position that they do have. None more so than race leader Jared Talmadge, who's got a 2.1 second lead, as now we're going to see Thomas Green try to make it down on pit road. Oh my goodness.
That was a little hairy scary getting onto pit road, but let's take a look here. So Cody Reed in the 25 on the top of your track map down there. Christopher Norris on the bottom of the track map. The 38 is not in front of the 25 here. The 38 needs to catch the 25 over half a lap distance between Cody Reed, who was one of the first cars to come down to pit road, and Christopher Norris, one of the drivers that we just saw a few laps ago.
Absolutely. I think the differing strategies here of running that additional pit stop versus not is going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out. I think right now in the race, Tom, this is going to be the strongest that the additional pit stop strategy is going to look because of the track still needing to be fully rubbered in. I think that difference on new tires versus old tires is going to be stronger now than it will at any point further in the race. So that's going to kind of come back down to earth just a little bit, that difference. But we'll see if drivers like Cody Reed and Isaac Shelley can make the most out of their additional pit stop strategy.
Race leader Jared Talmadge comes onto pit road. Josh Stovall also follows suit. That's going to pass the tentative race lead over to Ryan Kelly, who is going to come down to pit road for service this time by Brandon Gass. About 5 seconds back. We'll see if the 29 is going to come down pit road. Not going to come down. He may not. He may have not even had the option to. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. That
Oh, boy.
changes everything as we have an issue out on the racetrack. Not sure who. Not sure where. Oh, Ben Kinney, heavy damage in that M&M's Ford Mustang, that 51 machine off of turn 4.
I tell you what that looks like. That looks like a very familiar... We'll take a look here. Let's back this up, grab a replay from Ben Kinney, driver number 51, and I think we're going to want the nose cam here for this.
That we are. Oh, look away, Tom. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, old Tom Richter's seen that before.
Not laughing at Ben, but because I have very infamously done something similar at, I think it was at Dover.
Yeah, it was. I would know because it also took me out of the race as we were battling for the race lead. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. As the 51, oh my goodness, that left front tire is not moving at all. Ben Kinney, significant damage on that machine.
Right. So waiting for timing and scoring to kind of cycle around here because we got a yellow flag throughout a green flag pit sequence here. I want to say this is going to pass the lead back over to Jared Talmadge. I guess it's going to pass it back over to Ryan Kelly because Ryan Kelly was on pit road right when that incident happened.
Yeah, that came out of the perfect time for Ryan Kelly. Effectively no green flag laps on those tires, gets to jump back out into the race lead, so that was as perfectly timed as it was going to get. For driver 13, not too bad if you're Jared Talmadge, Thomas Green, Chris Stitz, Chris Norris, who are going to benefit from that as well. Cody Reed and Isaac Shelley, they're going to be just fine. They're going to come out in about P12, P13, so kind of nullifies what they were trying with that strategy, but they at least are not going to get caught a lap down or so. So there's some slight shuffling in the running order as a result of the timing of that yellow right there, but it looks like for the most part, I'm not seeing any big names caught a lap down or anything.
I tell you what this really hurts, though. It really hurts drivers like Cody Reed, Isaac Shelley, Thomas Walter, Justin Campbell, maybe Mike Miller. Remember, those are drivers that came down early around lap number 40, give or take handful of laps either way on each side of that. So now not only have they given up a set of tires to come down on lap 40, they also came down on this most recent yellow flag, so they're now a tire set short.
Yeah, they're going to be a tire set short, and they're going to be put back on the same strategy as everybody else. I think at this point, with the timing of that yellow, everybody is going to be looking to make the same amount of pit stops to the end. And that is one more pit stop on fuel to get all the way to the end. I don't think anyone pulls a two-stop strategy from here, as we are going to be restarting this race on lap 63 out of 160. We know these drivers can go upwards of 50 to 55 laps on a tank of fuel. So I'd be surprised if anyone decides to split this into two, especially now that we have had a yellow at this point in the race, and you never know if one is going to turn into more.
The field of 28 starters out here tonight has turned into 26 on track as we get set to see our second restart of the evening. Ryan Kelly, Thomas Green on the front row, going to be seeing the green flag for the second time out here this evening. Across the start-finish line they come. Ryan Kelly on the inside, Green up on the outside. Ryan Kelly able to slot up, slot back down, and take the race lead and drive away into one.
All right, Ryan Kelly in control of this race. Thomas Green in P2 going to look and take over this spot ahead of the 27. He is going to do so. Chris Norris going to slot into P4 as we run down the back straightaway. A couple of moves being made. Brandon Gass looking to defend. The 38 looking to take the spot from Talmadge a little further up. Lots of battles to keep our eyes on.
Nolan Hicks tries to use the outside lane here and try to carry that momentum here, but I think there's too much good on the Goodyear for the outside lane to defend too much here early in the goings here. These drivers just on pit road under this most recent yellow flag. Cody Reed up top shelf of the Speedway as he's all the way up top on top of the 03 of Clint Cox. They're going to make their way out of turn number 2, work their way down the backstretch here, put that 25 moving in the right direction.
That he is, 25 being aggressive on the restart right here. Going to be running up the track a handful of lanes, using all of that space that he can. Going to be bringing Clint Cox along with. He's going to get a little sideways as Cody Reed out of turn 4 right there. Got to be a little careful not to be sliding those tires too early in the run like that, and put yourself in a position where you're struggling for a good chunk further out, as we see Clint Cox drive all the way up to that outside wall, trying to carry that run and follow the 25 of Reed up through the field.
Yeah, kind of going back to what you were saying there a moment ago, Arie, if we don't see anybody do a two-stop strategy from this point on forward, it's going to be the longest run that Brandon Gass, Isaac Shelley, Larry Yingling, drivers pretty much from about the 9th place running position on down, have run tonight. Remember, they pitted on lap number 40. They were expecting only to go about another 40 laps on those tires before coming down and using the 3-stop strategy. So that they're going to have to learn how to save those tires, because now I think they're in a position that they need to run at least the 50-52 lap on these tires here.
Yeah, absolutely. As we watch this 3-wide battle, Noah Steele, Ollie Fonseca, and Larry Yingling is going to back out of it in the 67 a little further up. Fonseca in that 24 looking to move up in the field, up 12 spots from where he started this race. Now finds himself in P11 looking at the top 10.
Noah Steele loses a spot. He's going to fall back to the 12th place as Ollie Fonseca in that 24. Moving forward, started 23rd out here this evening. Didn't get the qualifying run that driver number 24 wanted, but making it work. Lap number 67 of 160 currently being worked. Ryan Kelly still in the race lead. Thomas Green still in second. Jared Talmadge, that's the top 3 as they run right now. Very similar to what we saw in the opening 30 laps or so, with Jared Talmadge kind of just hanging around there solidly inside the top 5.
Absolutely, as we see Cody Reed continuing to move up in the field, going to make this move on Nolan Hicks in the 86. I'll be curious to see. Cody Reed is certainly pushing these tires a lot harder than anybody else up inside of the top 10 at the moment. So part of me wonders, is Cody Reed either banking on another caution before we get to the extent of this fuel run, or is he still committed to making an additional pit stop and just trying to be as aggressive as he can while he's out on track?
That's the question that we're going to have an answer to here in probably about 20 laps is really kind of when we started to see cars sliding around, starting to see cars moving forward and moving backwards, all simultaneously, but we got a little bit of time before we'll get that answer. Jared Talmadge takes a look to the inside, a little bit of a defensive move there from Thomas Green. They're going to get very close on the entrance to turn number 3. Green on the outside, Talmadge on the inside. Green still going to have the spot off of 4.
He is very defensive move from Thomas Green. We've seen that all race long, especially with that 27 attempting to make moves to the inside of Thomas Green. Green not being an easy driver to pass out here tonight. Ryan Kelly loving what he's seeing up front as he's able to maintain that about 4 car length advantage up ahead, and the more those guys battle just behind, the better he'll be feeling. Because now we've got a 3-way battle back here between Chris Norris, Chris Stitz, and Cody Reed, who is still looking to push these tires and get as far up as he can.
Yeah, Cody Reed trying to take another spot. This would move him up into the top 5 running position for the first time this evening. On the inside of the 17, Chris Stitz tries to advance his position one more, get a top 5 spot, but he's a little bit of a blockade here in front of the 25. He's got Christopher Norris. Christopher Norris did not come down onto pit road on this most recent yellow flag last time pitted for Christopher Norris and Chris Stitz. Lap number 55, so about a 5-lap tire difference here. Cody Reed, the first one that came down on lap 60.
And he is, as Chris Stitz looks to make a perfectly executed crossover right there to get to the inside of Cody Reed in the 25. The further up Reed goes, the harder time he's going to have trying to push his tires to make these passes, as he's contending with faster and faster drivers out there on track. So if he is thinking of making that additional pit stop, he's doing everything he can to try and get as far up as he can before he has to make that pit stop, but it's just getting harder and harder the further up the order he runs.
He's got a clean shot here at the 38 of Christopher Norris down into turn number 3 this time, working lap number 72. About to be 73 across the start-finish line. He's going to get to the outside of the 38 and move Cody Reed tentatively up to the 4th place running position. I would imagine this would probably stick here as they're going to march their way down into turn number 1. Reed up on the outside, still using that momentum. And now within a second and a half of the race leaders here, how much do these 5-lap better tires matter for the 25?
That is going to be a big question for Cody Reed as he now finds himself in P4 on the racetrack, having cleared Chris Norris in the 38. Further up ahead, Ryan Kelly continues to lead Thomas Green and Jarrett Talmadge. No change in that part of the running order. A little further back, we do have a couple of close drivers out on track. Arie Fonseca and Brandon Gass battling for that final spot inside of the top 10. Gass in that 29 going to take it to the inside, try and take the spot. We know Fonseca had been moving his way up since this last restart with a pretty high level of aggression. Could his tires be falling off?
Brandon Gass, the winner at the Red Bull Ring a couple of weeks ago here in the Trinity Racing League. On the back half of the top 10 right now, he's got Arie Fonseca directly in tow. Noah Steele. Noah Steele's kind of had an up and down night. We've seen Noah running inside the top 10, inside the top 15, and a couple of issues for the 8 along the way. But as he runs right now, he's up in the top dozen, trying to take one more spot away from Arie Fonseca. Next car directly behind this group, that's going to be Mark Labertone, who's a lap down after an issue getting onto pit road.
That he is. A number of close battles on track to keep our eyes on. Right here, Thomas Green being pressured yet again by the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge, who looks to be the faster of the two, but Green taking those defensive lines certainly has been holding up the 27 of Talmadge a number of laps here this evening. We know how good Talmadge can be when he got out ahead of that 3 car on the long run earlier in the race. Jarrett Talmadge was able to pull a 2+ second race lead. Be curious to see what happens now that Ryan Kelly has gotten about a 1 second out up ahead of these two right here, but we know that 27 car has a lot of speed.
Well, let's not sweep this under the rug, Arie, as we complete 76 in the books, working 77 now. In the Trinity Racing League, they've got a halfway bonus point, so the leader of lap number 80 gonna get a bonus point, and you and I both know that one bonus point, as it accrues across the season, could be the difference between making the playoffs and sitting on the sidelines watching other drivers compete for a championship. So bonus point being awarded here in just about 3 laps. Currently, it's on deck to be handed away to Ryan Kelly.
That's certainly the case. That extra bonus point can go a long way. You need every last one you can get. So we see Chris Stitz going at Chris Norris right here. These two drivers battling down the front straightaway. The 17 to the inside. Oh my goodness, near contact. Down into corner entry. That's about as close as you're going to get as Stitz makes the move.
That was probably a little bit closer than either one of those two drivers wanted, but they make their way out without incident. By the time they work their way out of turn number 2, Norris with the crossover down into turn number 3 this time, going to be on the inside with Stitz up on the outside. Nolan Hicks not too far off in the distance, as if you guys get to battling, I wouldn't mind to take one from either one of you. I don't care which one it is, just give me a spot from one of you, please. This battle for second still not going away. Thomas Green now under fire, but Jarrett Talmadge going to be trying to use the outside lane here to make it work. We've seen this work before and get a big run down the backstretch.
That we have, and off of turn 2, we're going to see that 27 try and close the gap. Doesn't get as big of a run this time as earlier in the race when he tried the same thing. He also didn't go as far up the racetrack this time. So we'll see what Talmadge can do. He's able to work these corners so much better, but a combination of that dirty air and the defensive moves from the 3 has kept that 27 stuck in P3, I don't think for too much longer.
We're going to begin lap number 80 at the official halfway mark of tonight's event, and that means we have a point to award to the leader of this lap. Currently looks like it's going to be Ryan Kelly, and it's sponsored by Apex 50. If you're looking for a fun and relatable sim racing content, SG_racing has you covered. Check out Sam Garcia's Apex 50 on YouTube, the TikToks, I like to say the TikToks, Instagram, and Twitch. Sam Garcia out here tonight currently runs 21st, having a night he would likely like to forget, but bonus point awarded to Ryan Kelly, the leader of the halfway.
Ryan Kelly, the 13, going to secure that so important additional point. Never know when that could come back around to prove useful as this battle for P2 continues to heat up right here. Down the back straightaway again. Now we're going to see that 27 get that huge run down towards turn 3. Where does he elect to take it? He doesn't. He's going to have to back up and look for another attempt right here. As we can see, he gets through the center of the corner so much better than Thomas Green in the 3. That seems to be the big advantage for the 27, and that just tells me that Talmadge has been taking care of his tires, namely that right front tire, just a little bit better up to this point in this run than what the 3 has. Thomas Green hasn't been necessarily bad on his tires by any means. Been having a fantastic race. But I think Jared Talmadge just has that slight advantage that so far has been nullified by the defensive driving of Green.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, though, that every time we see Jarrett maybe run a little bit higher in the corners, we don't really see those big momentum runs here. So that means either one of two things is happening, right, Arie? I want to say maybe their tires are a little bit more equal than what we're playing to up here, or this would probably be a little bit more of a stretch, but I've seen it happen before, and I've done it a few times. If you got somebody in front of you that is just difficult to get around, just ride behind them, take the air away. It's going to do two things, right? It's going to give you an opportunity to take their spot if they make a mistake, but it's also going to burn their rears up while you're riding their spoiler like this.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the 27 put that front nose right on the rear bumper of the 3 through turns 3 and 4 that last time. He's going to peek to the inside yet again. Is Talmadge in the 27? Does he move the 3 up the racetrack? He does. He's going to slide up just a little bit, elbows out, no contact. As of yet, that's as close as you're going to get. As Talmadge now down the back straightaway tries to keep it pinned to the inside of Thomas Green down into turn 3. How aggressive do these two get? They're both going to drive it in very deep. Do they make contact? Just a little bit, but they both keep it pinned. Just enough room between those two off of turn 4. Both of them getting a little squirrely. Thomas Green with the momentum, but the side draft goes to the 27 down into turn 1.
The person who loves to see this is Ryan Kelly. While these drivers are doing this, they make their way down into turns 1 and 2, side by side, nose to nose once again. Through the south end of the speedway, Ryan Kelly has opened up just short of a 2-second lead halfway down the backstretch here. Jared Talmadge still unable to clear the outside lane of Thomas Green. Thomas Green pinches down and tries to use that defensive line that we've seen all evening long so far, and it looks like it's going to work once again.
That it is. Great run through turns 3 and 4 right there for Thomas Green, who can make that middle lane work perfectly through 3 and 4. It's a little more of a struggle down here in 1 and 2 oh, we're going to get contact. Elbows out. The bump given to the 3. Can Thomas Green keep it side by side with the 27? Does Talmadge clear? He's not going to get clear, and the 3 is going to be back in it in turn 3.
It's got to be so frustrating for both of these drivers. Both of these drivers think the bump down in turn 3. Thomas Green gonna send it down into turn number 3. Make contact with the rear bumper of the 27. Got to imagine that is part of
damage.
what we saw in turn number 1, and now we've got damage on the left rear tire, or the left rear quarter panel of Jared Talmadge directly in front of him.
How much is that damage going to affect the handling of that 27 machine? I'm noticing that the spoiler doesn't look to be kicked out at all, but that left rear fender is pretty notably damaged. I can't imagine that car is going to handle the same way it would if that damage had not been placed there. We're going to see. Talmadge has been the faster race car. He's finally got the track position ahead of the 3 of Green, but we're going to have to monitor how Talmadge manages throughout the rest of the race.
Working lap number 88. Expect to see cars down on pit road somewhere around the 105 to 110 range. As it runs right now, about 1.9 seconds back for Jared Talmadge. We'll come back to that in a couple of laps and see if he is closing the gap at all. We're going to slide back here to a battle for the 4th place position. Cody Reed up on the outside, Chris Stitz on the inside. Cody Reed, one of the drivers that was quickly moving forward in the opening run of this run, last pitted on lap number 60. Looks like the tires are probably starting to equalize here a little bit for Cody Reed, as he's now under fire from Chris Stitz.
That he is. Cody Reed doing his best to hold on inside of the top 5 right here. They've got Chris Norris lurking in the shadows just behind in that 38 machine to make our way through turns 1 and 2. Reed on the outside, Stitz making that inside lane work. They're about dead even as they have remained side by side for about 3 laps now.
Stitz still up on the inside, Reed on the outside, Christopher Norris within camera shot as well. We're going to come down into turn number 3, almost contact with Stitz on the inside, Reed up on the outside. They're going to get away without issue, but the 25 sideways on the exit of the corner, going to make contact with the 17. Now we're 3 wide on the front stretch.
Oh my goodness, multiple saves out of multiple drivers in that instance right there. How squirrely can you get as this 2-car battle turns into a 5-car battle? Now out of turn number 2, 2 by 2, down the back straightaway, Stitz, Reed, Shelley, Norris, Hicks into turn 3.
5 cars into turn number 3, all underneath the blanket as we make our way out of turn number 4. Last time by, Cody Reed super sideways on the exit of turn number 4. This time by, a little bit more stable. Chris Norris going to lose a spot here possibly to Nolan Hicks in that Taco Bell machine down up on the inside. Now new name in this camera shot here. Isaac Shelley tries to make his way forward as he's going to be onto the inside of Cody Reed in the 25, but Chris Stitz has been able to clear this pack and now kind of drive away here a little bit.
That he has, as we continue to watch this battle play out. 3 wide, nearly contact right there. That was nearly very bad between these 3 right here. Reed up on the outside. It is going to be 3 wide as Cody Reed gets sideways again. And oh my, Chris Norris gets sideways. Nolan Hicks to the inside. My, oh my, the 86 is going to clear the front bumper of the 25 down into turn 1. You could see the tire tracks out of the 38 getting loose down into the corner. What a battle this has been.
Nobody willing to give up here in the closing laps of tonight's event. Got about 70 laps to go in tonight's race from the Homestead-Miami Speedway for the Lifes of Beach 250. Up front at the front of the field, Ryan Kelly has extended his lead just a little bit after Jared Talmadge has a little bit of damage on the left rear quarter panel. But the battle that everybody is looking at, all eyes on this battle for about the 4th place running position, Chris Stitz, Isaac Shelley, Nolan Hicks, Christopher Norris, all pretty close for position.
That they have been, is we're going to see Isaac Shelley in the 98 make that move pretty handily on the 17 into turn number 1 that time around. Stitz not going to fight that one too much. Knows the 98 has been faster. I see Chris Stitz in the 17 oftentimes making that decision, Tom. If he knows somebody's faster right behind, he's going to let them get by at a spot where he doesn't lose a single tenth of a second so that he can keep his race going as unimpeded as possible.
Well, yeah, and that's the difference between, you know, kind of just giving a courtesy and doing it to where it doesn't affect your lap, right? I mean, you don't want to do it on the corner exits. You kind of want to do it on the on the corner entries where maybe you tell the driver to drive up underneath you, or maybe if we're at a road course, you do it at a spot that's very off throttle to begin with. So all those little things, they add up throughout the course of the race, and it's currently running up inside the top 5. Looks like Isaac Shelley has made his way around there, but yeah, it's a difficult thing. It's easy to understand about why you want to do it, but it's difficult to actually put it into practice.
Yeah, certainly the case as we see the 86 of Hicks now to the inside of Stitz. Going to try and take this spot away. It's going to be a battle for P5 on track as we run lap number 95 out of 160 in tonight's event. This is one of the closest battles happening on the racetrack at the moment for the stuff in the running order. Ryan Kelly's race lead is up there for biggest margin of the night. It's about to hit 3 seconds over Jared Talmadge in P2, who, by the way, has not been able to break more than half a second, about 0.5 of a second ahead of P3 Thomas Green.
Yeah, and we got to wonder, you know, how much of that is, one, because of the extra tire usage that him and Thomas Green spent racing side by side for so many laps, and 2, you know, how much of it is because of the contributing factor of the damage on the left rear quarter panel that Jarrett now has on his car. Got to say, it's probably a combination of the two, but I think that damage is affecting it.
Yeah, certainly would think so as well. But Ryan Kelly loving what he's seeing. If he can get into this green flag pit cycle with a 3+ second lead, he is going to be feeling very comfortable, hoping to run green all the way to the end of this race. We're watching Noah Steele in the 8 make a move to the inside of Cody Reed. That's going to be a battle for P9. Cody Reed continuing to drop back after using a very aggressive strategy at the beginning of this stint right here, using up his tires, driving up inside of the top 5. He is now holding on and trying to survive as those tires have fallen off in a big way. Noah Steele moves up to P9. He's our biggest mover of the race. He's up 18 positions from where he started tonight's race, and definitely needed after last week in Texas.
All right, so Arie, I've got a question for him to put you on the spot here. Didn't prep you for this one. Drivers who pitted on lap number 60 have about 5 lap better tires than the drivers that came down on 55, 56, somewhere around the 54 range when we had that yellow flag through the cycle of green flag pit stops. The first driver with lap 60 tires, Isaac Shelley in 4th, Nolan Hicks in 5th, Brandon Gass in 6th. These drivers have an opportunity to run a little bit further than the race leaders.
Oh, they certainly have the opportunity to do that. Will these drivers do that? I think it's going to come down more than anything. It's going to come down to how well that they keep their tires alive. If you're getting towards the end of that fuel tank, if you see some of those other drivers, the Ryan Kellys, Jarrett Talmadges, the Thomas Greens of the world, if you see those guys coming down, it's going to depend on how your tires are looking. If you're hanging on for dear life, if you're struggling, you're probably not going to stretch it out and use that advantage that you have because you don't want to lose too much time. But if you're still feeling pretty comfortable considering the long run, considering how many laps you have on those tires, if you feel like you're making good enough lap time, why not? Go ahead and take that advantage. Give yourself a couple additional laps over those guys throughout the rest of the race. Sure, they're going to get the advantage on the short term. They're going to have that undercut time that they gain from the pit sequence. But as long as you don't wait too long, you can give yourself a great opportunity with better tires all the way to the end.
The difficult part about that situation is Isaac Shelley 6.5 seconds back, Nolan Hicks 6.8 seconds back. So they've kind of already lost 2 laps, right? Let's say the tires are worth 3 seconds a lap. They've kind of already lost 2 laps just based on their running position here, and I think that has to factor into the weight as well.
Yeah, it certainly will. I think if you're going to try and give yourself better tires than those ahead of you, given that you're already about 6 seconds back from the race leader, I'm not going to want to push it any more than maybe 3 laps of a difference. That'll stay out longer than maybe the race leader, Ryan Kelly, for example. So we'll see how it plays out for these drivers. But again, a caution could change everything, as we did see during the middle of our last green flag pit sequence.
Ryan Kelly has now opened up his race lead, and he has got a commanding race lead now, almost 5 seconds over second place Jared Talmadge, who is still Jared Talmadge and Thomas Green. These 2 drivers have not given up on each other. These two drivers staying nose to tail even after Jarrett was able to get around the former second-place runner of Thomas Green.
I tell you what, I think Thomas Green is experiencing a bit of a second wind right now, chasing down Jarrett Talmadge in the 27. How much of that is tires? How much of that is damage? I think it's going to be a combination of the two. Jarrett Talmadge was stuck in the dirty air of that 3 car for much, much longer than he would have liked. And now he's got that left rear quarter panel damage. That is going to be hurting the handling of that race car right there. And when the handling starts hurting, you're wearing the tires even more. So it all just kind of compounds onto itself as we ride on board of Thomas Green in the 3.
You know something, Arie? We were looking at the damage on the 27. We didn't take a note if the 3 got any damage from making that contact. Let's take a look as he goes down here into turn number 3. Is there any damage on maybe the center area of that Chevy Camaro driven by Thomas Green? So far, it looks pretty okay. It's funny how that works. You know, you can dent up the rear bumper of somebody else and your nose looks just perfectly fine, but doesn't appear to be any damage on Green there.
Yeah, I think the 3 car is doing all right, and it is funny how that works. Those rear bumpers are certainly a little more sensitive than those front bumpers at times, and Talmadge going to be struggling with this one. I'll be curious to see if Talmadge elects to take any additional time on pit road to get that fixed. I don't think he does unless maybe a yellow comes out. Maybe at that point he will, but I don't know. I think we're far enough in the race. You know, you've got this much track position. Passing has been this hard tonight. I don't think you can afford to get that damage fixed, even if it's hindering your ability to go out there and potentially chase down Ryan Kelly.
Difference between first place Ryan Kelly and second place Jarrett Talmadge as they run right now. Ryan Kelly about halfway down the backstretch by the time Thomas Green and Jarrett Talmadge make their way out of turn number 2, almost an entire back straightaway here. And at a track like Homestead, that's an eternity out here on this 1.5 mile surface. Battle back here for about the 4th place position. Isaac Shelley on the inside of Nolan Hicks. Nolan Hicks is on the move here in the last couple of laps.
Oh, he certainly is. That 86 Taco Bell machine making a push, and this could be just using the last bit of life out of his tires before the 86 elects to come down on pit road. Perchance Nolan Hicks is a member of the Lap 60 pit stop club, however, so he could theoretically go a little bit longer than some of the drivers ahead of him. So I'm not sure. It could just be a matter of the 86 has saved enough tire where at this point he's got a good enough advantage on lap time. I'll be curious to see if he can pull up to the rear bumper of the 27 and the 3.
Something that's interesting here, Arie, I just caught this out of the corner of my eye. Cody Reed has fallen all the way back down to 14th place after making a strong run after the yellow flag about 50 laps ago or so. Had made his way up inside the top 5, now currently in 14th. Last time by for Cody Reed was a 36.95. Drivers that we're currently following up here, 36.50, 36.60, so about 0.3 of a second difference for Cody Reed as he runs right now.
Yeah, it seems like Cody Reed in that 25 struggling big time with where he has found himself with those tires as this battle for P2 is about to heat up in a big way. Thomas Green has been running a little higher up on the racetrack, trying to get the momentum down the straightaways. He knows the 86 of Nolan Hicks is coming, and he is very much closing that gap. So the 3 of Thomas Green trying to make this move before he has to worry about getting defensive. And Nolan Hicks, he is already giving himself all the momentum down the straightaways, running that outside line. That 86 has come to life here on the long run.
A couple of drivers have been on and off of pit road for service. Josh Kanata currently on pit road. He's going to come down, I would imagine, for 4 fresh tires in that 16. Clint Cox, Justin Campbell, drivers also on pit road, lap 103, 104, respectively, for Clint Cox and Justin Campbell. So the sequence is starting to begin here, and now we're right up within the window. We thought we would see him sometime around 105 to 110. Nolan Hicks has been the driver on the move, though. He's actually been a little bit faster than the race leader. And these 2 in front of him here, we'll see what Nolan's able to do as he looks to take 3rd place away from Green.
He's going to get to the inside of Thomas Green. He's going to clear right away, set himself up for the move on the 27. Perhaps Thomas Green thinking, Yeah, that 86 is a little too fast for me, but maybe I can follow him around the 27. Now down to the inside goes Hicks into turn number 1. Talmadge is going to elect to run up against the wall. Is he going to get into the wall? He does. A little too far up. That's going to bring him back into the clutches of the 3 of Thomas Green, and Talmadge gets sideways for about the entirety of turn 2 right there. Does get it saved, but Thomas Green is going to get that spot. And oh, by the way, here comes the 29 of Brandon Gass.
A little bit of contact there between the 3 and the 27. We go down into turn number 3. Issues between the 27 and the 3. We're going to
these two are not happy with each other.
Let's go zoom here.
These two are not happy. Talmadge maybe trying to pay back the 3 from... Oh, right! Hooked into the outside wall! Brandon Gass gets caught in the melee! Oh, my goodness! Thomas Green right hooks Jared Talmadge across the field. The 49's going to get a big hit as well. Big trouble down into turn 1. Cody Reed with significant damage. A number of drivers involved in this incident as we take a look down into turn number 1.
There are some cautions, Arie, that we let the pictures tell the story, and I think this might be one of them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. With that statement right there. I want to get an outside look right here to see there's a number of drivers, innocent bystanders, caught up in this melee right here. Brandon Gass, of course, the first of them. Clint Cox is going to get hit right here. I think he ends up saving that machine in that 0-3.
I apologize. I saw Ryan Bird come sliding in. I'm not sure if maybe he got hit and that kind of sent him sliding in here. Let's take a look here. We'll go on board. He's already sideways, so he's on the brakes, and this is not a good sign.
No, this is not what you want to... That's a pretty funny view. Hate that for the 49, but I want to take a look at the onboard from the 49 right there, because that is one of the most comical shots.
While we get set up for this replay, the entire field on pit road, we're going to take a quick look at this replay. We'll get you live to pit road, and then we'll take more looks at this. But Ryan Bird.
Oh my goodness. Locked it up, out of the gas for so long, just could not do anything about it.
Drivers on pit road here, the entirety of the field coming down onto pit road. Maybe a couple of drivers maybe considering staying out here. A couple of drivers pitted just a moment ago. But Jared Talmadge, from being the pole sitter out here this evening, he's going to be in the front box. Ryan Kelly's going to win the race off pit road, followed by Nolan Hicks, followed by Isaac Shelley, Chris Stitz, Chris Norris, and Noah Steele.
Well, all right, a mostly tame race here at Homestead-Miami devolves into chaos.
All right, let's... where are these guys here? I can't find them. There we are. All right, another look here down into turn number 1. You got to feel bad for Brandon Gass here, right? He did absolutely nothing wrong, was running a clean race, and then gets collected in something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Gass, he was on a mission. He was faster than these two drivers. He was about to follow the 86 of Hicks up through into P3. Hate to see it for the 29. As much as it is fun to see the chaos unfold between the 27 and the 3 when innocent bystanders are collected, that's certainly not what you want to see. We've seen Ryan Bird get collected in this. I'd be curious here, Tom, the 25 of Cody Reed, he ended up with some significant damage. Let's ride on board at the 25 and see what happens here.
Oh, Cedric's just going to get sideways.
Oh, my goodness.
Cedric didn't do anything wrong there, right? He had a lot of brake in it, and it cut the car to the right. And that's the effects of stabbing the brakes. But you do what you got to do to get through the corner. And Cody Reed involved, Brandon Gass involved, all drivers of unfortunate circumstance out here, and in a lot of ways, avoidable circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely the case. And I tell you what, I think some members out in our chat here tonight on to something. The old boxing ring in the Trinity Racing League Discord gonna be action-packed out here this evening. Get your popcorn if you're in there.
Just put a browser source for it.
I don't know if we can show that over air, but
Lights are out on the pace car. We're about to see the restart for the third time out here. Ryan Kelly going to be bringing us back to the green flag. Control car for this restart. He's got Nolan Hicks to the outside. Into the restart zone we go. Green flag is back out. 114 in the books.
All right, here we go. Down into turn one. Ryan Kelly going to hold on to the race lead. I think Ryan Kelly is going to be another big loser from that yellow. He had about a 5-second race lead at that point, if not more. Cruising ahead, so gotta do it all over again if you're the 13, but everyone is good to make it to the end of the finish on fuel, so it is a straight up run to the checkered flag here. Use what you got, but don't use too much of it too soon, as we see Isaac Shelley now up to P2, Chris Stitz, Nolan Hicks, and Chris Norris, the top 5. I'm not surprised to see the Taco Bell machine drop a couple of spots on the restart here, Tom. It seemed like on that last run, Nolan Hicks, in what we see out of like the 27, for example, in these races, very content to give up a couple spots early in the run his race, stay in a rhythm, and then when it's go time, it is go time, and he finds another gear.
Yeah, with just over 40 laps remaining, though, Arie, you need to find that balance. And if you give too much, you're not going to be able to get it back on the closing laps. And if you don't give enough, then you won't be able to drive back up there because you use too much in the opening runs of this opening laps of this run. So it's a very fine line to try to walk. And in a lot of ways, you kind of judge it based on what the cars immediately around you are doing. If they're running a little bit slower, say, all right, I'll just kind of run back here. You kind of manage the interval to the race leader.
Right, certainly the case, and I tell you what, more power to the drivers who are able to give up those positions and then fight back a little bit later on. I know when I'm behind the wheel, that's not usually my strategy. I like to just park it on the front bumper of whoever's behind me and run as slow as I can get away with, but keep the track position. So I like it when I see these drivers able to do that. I think that's a skill set I'd love to be able to develop eventually, as we see the 17 of Stitz move up into P2 ahead of Shelley. A little bit of a battle further back. Josh Stovall, name we haven't said in a while out here tonight, but was fastest in practice. He's back up into the conversation. Noah Steele in the 8 machine, our biggest mover on the evening, looking to pick up yet another spot.
Plus 20 spots for Noah Steele. Driver that has moved forward, moved backwards, and as it currently runs 7th as he tries to take 6th place away from Josh Stovall up on the outside. Josh, again, like you said, fastest in practice, and that's kind of been a theme that we've seen over the first 7 or 8 races of the season here, Arie. Josh Stovall, very fast in practice, but respectfully kind of has issues kind of closing the loop at the end of the night.
Something that we'll surely see the one get a little bit better at with time. The first thing that you really develop, though, is that speed in the first place. You start knocking out those lap times in practice, that starts turning into qualifying, and eventually you start figuring it out throughout the course of these races. Stovall got a bright future for sure. So we jump back up to the race lead. Ryan Kelly currently 0.5 of a second over second place Chris Stitz. And Stitz has kept himself in the conversation all night long. He hasn't gone up there and led a bunch of laps or looked like the dominant race car, but he hasn't really fallen out of the top 5, I think, a single time out here tonight. So that's 17. Don't sleep on Stitz to make a run here in the final portion of this race.
Top 3 as they run right now. Ryan Kelly in the race lead. Chris Stitz, where he started out here tonight, is where he currently runs in 2nd place. Isaac Shelley in 3rd. Nolan Hicks in that Taco Bell machine is going to be currently running in 4th. And Christopher Norris. Chris is kind of maybe the surprising name of the night, right? Christopher has been inside the top 5 for a good portion of the race, but never really a contender for the race lead this evening. Kind of a little surprising from what we're used to seeing with the 38.
Yeah, we've definitely seen the 38 go on a tear here on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network on Saturday nights. That 38 has been unstoppable. But out here tonight, this has kind of been This has been one of those stories, Tom, of a race car that might be maybe a 6th or 7th place race car that I think Chris Norris is on track to finish 4th or 5th with. This is just going to be one of those days where he's not the fastest driver out here. He's not going to be dominating. He's not going to be leading laps, but he's probably going to finish a couple of spots ahead of where that car would realistically be otherwise, just from keeping his head down, keeping his nose clean, and knocking away the laps as he's able.
And that's how you have these kind of consistent seasons, right? I was looking in their Discord earlier today, and I saw a message from Christopher Norris, and he said, "I just looked, I'm 8th place in the points. You know, we're not out there really winning races, and you know, we're leading some laps, right? But we're not getting the checkered flag at the end of the night. But just having solid nights out here, and with the lack of stage points, a good finish at the end of the evening will help you stay competitive in the points here as Chris Stitz starts to close up on the rear bumper of the 13.
That he does. Chris Stitz making a hard push for the race lead at this point in the run. The 17 wants to gain control of this, and you know what? I think the 17 here, Tom, I think he's using up a little more tire, but I don't hate this call. We're getting into the last 35 laps or so of this race. Why not use just a little bit of those tires, see if you can't get the lead of this race and have control in case a yellow flag comes out, in case we have more pit stops. I would much rather be the driver out in front, even if it meant using just a little more tire than I would otherwise.
Well, that, and you don't know what's coming, right? Isaac Shelley is 1.3 seconds back. Nolan Hicks, as we've seen happen earlier in the race, he's kind of given up about a second and a half. If you stay behind this 13 here for too long, you may not just be battling the 13 for the win. You may have to contend with 4 or 5 other cars.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see Hicks peek that nose to the inside of Shelley, wasn't going to happen right there. Nolan's going to have to be careful that he doesn't allow the 38 of Norris into the equation right here. He certainly doesn't want to have to worry about getting defensive if that 86 wants a shot to go up there and make a charge for the race lead in the closing laps. We're going to see the field come off of turn 2 right here. The top 2, the battle for P3, and everyone else on back. We're starting to see a number of these sort of mini packs forming of these drivers running nose to tail. Couple of battles for position, I should say, throughout the field here or there. But for the most part, this race has really been a surprisingly single lane race for Homestead-Miami standards.
Couple of cautions out here this evening. Caution on lap number 1 involving Aaron Kralik and Stephen Clapp. Caution on lap number 55. And then again, big incident around lap number 110 as these drivers continue their way around. That took Jarrett Talmadge, Cody Reed, Brandon Gass, probably Cedric Hunter, Thomas Walter, and more out of contention for a decent finish out here this evening. Is we're just over 30 laps to go in tonight's event from Homestead-Miami Speedway from the Trinity Racing League. Our upcoming races, Arie, these drivers have a fun little schedule directly here in front of them. Next week we got Darlington Raceway, the Beast and Southeast, Pocono Raceway, and then Sonoma Raceway before we head out west for road course.
I'll tell you what, Tom, I'm looking forward to next week because I'm going to be down on the racetrack at Darlington with all of these other drivers. We're going to be pulling a little bit of an interesting dynamic in 1 week's time, where we're going to have one of us from the booth down in the race car as a bit of an in-race reporter. I'll be giving you all the information from behind the wheel. It'll be my first opportunity to get out there on track and race pretty much all of these drivers out here. I've only raced with a handful of these guys in a Saturday night preseason event, but I'm looking forward to getting out there on track and seeing how everyone is, door to door as opposed to up here in the booth.
Yeah, and I know that Darlington is one of your favorite tracks along with Sonoma, and I think you probably flipped a coin and said, do I want to try my hand at Darlington or do I want to try my hand at Sonoma? But it'll be interesting to see where you kind of stack up here. I think there's a little bit of dust growing up on your wheel on that G29 that you got clamped over on that desk there. So be good to see you back out on track here next week.
Yeah, I do got that G29 clamped on the desk with a single monitor setup. But hey, if it works, it works. I tell you what, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I did kind of flip a coin between my favorite oval track and my favorite road course track, but Darlington should be a good time from the sounds of it. I think Kanada's planning on making sure the skies don't have a single cloud in it so that everyone has a great time with that sunset down into turn 3. We'll see how that goes as we now see 30 laps to go here in tonight's event. Riding on board with our race leader, Ryan Kelly, in the 13. Looking back at P2, Chris Stitz in the 17, still pressuring the rear end of Kelly right here, maybe just wanting to get himself close enough to be able to apply this pressure and stick a nose in there if a mistake or just a little bit of a wobble comes out of that 13.
And I think the longer that Chris Stitz rides behind Ryan Kelly here, the likelihood of him getting around and making a pass, I'm going to use the word cleanly, but what I mean is without burning up your stuff or without trying to have to get yourself offline, right? Getting around the 13 without affecting your own race gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer with each passing lap as the tires start to wear a little bit. So we're going to keep a close eye, but Chris Stitz still staying with Ryan Kelly. This is going to bring us back to a battle back here for the 4th place spot. Christopher Norris under fire from Hicks.
That it is. Chris Norris going to move up into P4 now using that outside line. And I tell you what, I think Noah Steele just behind has been slowly reeling this group in as well. So that 8 car about to be a part of this battle as now we are side by side for the race lead. Chris Stitz has gotten there. Ryan Kelly's going to have the momentum down the back straightaway. How aggressive is this side draft? This could be a battle for the race win with 28 laps to go. Down into turn 3 we go. These two giving each other significantly more space than what we saw earlier out of another pair of contenders coming off of turn 4 right here. They're going to be dead heat down the front straightaway.
Ryan Kelly on the outside, Chris Stitz on the inside. Stitz going to slot back in behind the rear bumper of Ryan Kelly. Going to have to give it another shot here. They were side by side through turns 1 and 2, and that may have been the best opportunity for Chris to get around Ryan. Unable to put it to fruition here as we're going to have 26 laps to go. Next time by, we get to the start-finish line.
Alrighty, through turns 3 and 4 right here, Ryan Kelly successfully defends the race lead from that attempt in what could have very well been the 17 car getting control of this race. Jump back another position, and Chris Norris hounding the rear bumper of the 98 of Isaac Shelley. Norris wants to get up into the podium positions and see if he can't have a shot to chase down the top 2 in the remaining 26 laps of tonight's event.
Christopher Norris currently runs 4th, and he's got his sights and the crosshairs set on the 98 directly in front of him. Nolan Hicks, though, if these two drivers get to battling, it's not only going to bring Nolan Hicks in, it's going to bring Noah Steele in. It's going to bring Josh Stovall. Josh Stovall, fastest in practice that we've touched upon a couple of times throughout the course of tonight's event. They get to racing side by side, and he's going to have one opportunity, one set of corners before he has to deal with 3 more cars in his rear view.
Absolutely the case. Chris Norris going to be peeking a nose to the outside. When you peek that nose to the outside, you got to be very careful about that rear end. That rear loose feeling in the handling of that race car tends to kick up quite a few notches when you're running anything but that bottom line right there. We've seen it throughout the race tonight. You're that car on the outside. So many of these drivers have been running as low down as they can if they're stuck in the middle, pinning that driver on the inside as far down the track as they can so that they don't have to fight that loose condition on exit. Makes it real hard to try and keep that car glued to the track, try to defend a spot, or to make a pass. This battle is going to continue to heat up as these drivers tick off one lap after another. 0.3 of a second is the difference between first place Ryan Kelly and Chris Stitz in P2 at the moment. Closing in that gap back down to 0.2 of a second. So is the 17 mounting another attempt?
Last time by for Ryan Kelly is a 36.209. That time by Chris Stitz, 36.011. And you can actually see it there on the timing board. 36.1 for third place Shelley, 36.1 for Christopher Norris. So perhaps just a bad lap for Ryan Kelly, or is there something more starting to brew in that 13 camp? We'll have to see. We'll keep the last time buys up here for another lap and take a look. But 4 of the top 5 drivers faster than your race leader here, and that's a little concerning with 22 laps. Long way around here, Arie, with 22 laps to go.
Yeah, certainly the case. That being said, I think I like the spot Ryan Kelly is in more than any of these others. And the reason I say that is because the 13 car, he's got clean air on that front nose. He is not worrying about anything. He's got some lap traffic coming up ahead, but that's not going to be affecting him too much. If you're Ryan Kelly, you're in control of this race, should a caution come out and pit stops be underway. You're in control of this race under green. Sure, you're defending behind from the 17, but you've got clean air. You're not worrying about it. Your tires are going to be feeling the best out of the bunch, and the longer you keep that 17 stuck in your dirty air wake, the harder and harder it's going to get for Chris Stitz to be able to make that pass on you. So with each lap that goes by, the odds of Ryan Kelly being able to hold on to win this race are going up and up.
They're going to have to work their way around Cedric Hunter here in another lap or two as they quickly close in on the rear bumper of Cedric Hunter. One of the drivers involved in the most recent yellow flag relegated him back down to 21st, currently a lap down as he looks to go 2 laps down here in just a moment. But sliding back over here, let's take a look at the battle for third. Christopher Norris, again, you said it earlier, one of these nights here that Christopher Norris may just be able to take a top 6 or a top 7 car and maybe just get a podium out of the night.
He might just, as he looks to the inside of Shelley. Can't quite keep the nose there for that side draft. Shelley doing a good defensive job in that middle lane right there. Norris is going to have to do one of two things. He's going to have to get to the outside of that 98, or he's going to have to get his elbows out in the corner. If you can pull alongside the 98, or any driver really, if you can pull alongside them, get your cars about dead even, you can bump them out of the way without wrecking them. You just want to make sure that your front fender isn't lined up with their rear fender, because that's when you risk spinning a driver out. As we see Nolan Hicks, he's going to switch it up a little bit. Nolan Hicks, he says, all right, you two have fun with that. I'm going to start getting some momentum on the outside line. I'm going to run where you aren't running to try and pass both of you guys, as we are now within 20 laps to go.
With a track that's got 4 lanes, though, here, Arie, is it fair or foul to use the bumper at a track like Miami? Obviously, if we're at Richmond, we're at Martinsville, one of the other short tracks, maybe even Dover, you may be able to throw that in, or a track like Gateway or Milwaukee, maybe a little bit more single groove here. There's options here that kind of poses the question whether it's fair or foul.
Yeah, I think it's a good conversation that you bring up. I think it depends on how you do it. I think it depends on when you do it. I think within 20 laps to go, you're going to slide into the corner and maybe just move somebody up the track a little bit for position. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think if you're going to go in there and clear somebody out, that's not my style of racing by any means. And, you know, everyone's going to have a different view on every situation, as we see Hicks in the 86 moving to the inside of Norris now in the 38. What do these two elect to do out of turn number 2 right here? Norris is going to have the momentum and that draft. Can Hicks keep that nose planted there? Yes, he can. Just enough. Norris drives it in real deep on corner entry. Jared Talmadge, lap down vehicle on fresher tires, going to be making his way around these guys. Says, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, a couple of lap down vehicles getting in the way. Shelley had to check up and almost came across the nose of Chris Norris, and then he does come across the nose of Chris Norris. Contact between 3rd and 4th position, as now Nolan Hicks looks to capitalize on this, as Norris and Shelley side by side down the backstretch.
Nolan Hicks following in suit. One of these drivers trying to advance their position. Isaac Shelley currently in 3rd, defending for 3rd place. Chris Norris on the inside, and Nolan Hicks directly behind these 2 drivers. All these drivers up inside the top 5. Noah Steele says, don't mind if I do. If you guys get to battling out here over the next handful of laps, Christopher Norris still up on the back bumper, giving him the back bumper massage of that number 98 Isaac Shelley. But Christopher Norris trying to do everything he possibly can here to advance here in the closing 15 laps.
He's going to pull back into line. The 27 of Talmadge trying to stay out of the mayhem right here and not affect this battle for P3 on the racetrack. As it works right now, it is all calmed back out to where it was before the mayhem, with Shelley ahead of Norris, ahead of Hicks. But they are still nose to tail, the 3 of them, with Norris seeming to be I mean, honestly, Tom, this kind of seems to be in reverse order. I think Hicks is faster than Norris, who's faster than Shelley. But the track position and the defensive moves are making it hard to get these done as we see Hicks get to the outside now. That's just what that 86 machine needs. Can he keep it there? He's going to have to keep it on the outside through 3 and 4 right here to make this move stick. As long as he doesn't kick that rear end out right here, we should be good off of turn number 4, as now Nolan Hicks is going to chase down Shelley in P3.
Just over a dozen laps to go out here tonight from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Ryan Kelly has extended his race lead to about 8.5 tenths over second place Chris Stitz. That lead currently uncontested here, but the big battles that we're still following, Isaac Shelley, Nolan Hicks, Christopher Norris, Noah Steele even, all within camera shot down here as we're going to go on board with the 86 Toyota Supra of Hicks and see what he's able to do now with Isaac Shelley. We think 86 of Hicks a little bit faster than Isaac Shelley, and now has his first clean opportunity at trying to advance his position into a podium spot.
And he does, and he is going to run down into turn 1. He takes this shallow entry, low middle corner. He lets it ride all the way up to the wall, and then he just carries that momentum around that outside. I've noticed that on the long runs, Nolan Hicks loves to take that unorthodox approach to turns 1 and 2, and it has been working wonders for driver 86. As he is far enough alongside the 98. He just has to keep this pin through turn 3 and 4 right here. It's so easy to get loose out of turn 4. Looks like he's going to keep it there enough. Does he get the push from the 38? Not close enough. They're going to be dead even down into turn 1.
At the line, it was Isaac Shelley on the inside. Nolan Hicks up on the outside of the speedway, trying to use all the momentum. But you can get super loose doing this because you're putting so much power down on the corner exit. Looks like Nolan Hicks going to be able to clear for third place. Now Isaac Shelley going to have to play both defense and offense, so it's a unique position here that he's got to defend third place and also, or he's got to defend fourth place and also attack third.
That he does, and Nolan Hicks has been set free to try and chase down the top 2. I just don't know that he's got enough time to make up that kind of a gap. 3.4 seconds behind the race leader as we now watch the battle for P4, a battle that Noah Steele fancies joining in on before too long.
Noah Steele currently runs just outside the top 5 as he looks to get one of these two spots. One of these two spots would give him a top 5 finishing result out here tonight, as we're now within 10 laps to go of tonight's event. Ryan Kelly with a second lead over second place Chris Stitz. Chris Stitz losing a little bit of time to the race leader here, but Nolan Hicks, the driver, who we probably think he maybe waited a little bit too. I don't think he waited. I think he just couldn't get around him. Fought too many laps there in order to close this gap in the closing laps out here.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that assessment right there. I think the 17 just spent too long in the dirty wake, tried to make it happen, and the tires were eventually not too happy with that. Last time around, fastest car on track out of the top bunch was the race leader, the 13 of Ryan Kelly, who has been able to pick up the pace. We saw how good Ryan Kelly was on the last long run we had. Opened up a 5-second lead over Jared Talmadge and Thomas Green in that run. So Ryan Kelly definitely no slouch on these long runs. As much as Nolan Hicks has the speed on these long runs, I think he just gave up a little too much time throughout the majority of this run. I don't know that he can catch up to the back of the 17, though he is faster right now with only 8 laps to go. I think he's looking at a solid podium run.
Interesting little note here, Arie. So if these stats are correct, we're dependent on the league officials for these to be correct, but if these are correct, Ryan Kelly chasing his first career Trinity Racing League win, best finish a couple of weeks ago at Kansas Speedway with third. So possible first-time winner on the line out here tonight. 7 laps to go, make it 6 at the line next time by for Kelly.
All right, that would be an interesting development. Oh, Isaac Shelley going to get into the outside wall.
Shelley gets up into the outside wall. That's going to allow Noah Steele to take that spot there. Jared Talmadge not for position. A couple of laps down after an earlier race incident. But Noah Steele going to be able to get around Isaac Shelley here. Isaac Shelley still within striking distance here, but Noah Steele tentatively with a top 5 spot in the closing laps of tonight's event, as we're going to see a high 5 over the Speedway next time by.
Getting ready to see 5 laps to go as we continue to watch this battle right here unfold. Shelley starting to drop down the running order after having defended P3 for so long in this final run. Noah Steele is going to get that spot up 22 positions from where he started this race, looking to finish with a solid top 5 out here in Miami. We jump back up front to our race leader now exiting turn 2. There's the gap between the top 2. Ryan Kelly has taken the advantage and run with it. With 5 laps to go, just praying to count the laps down before anything can happen.
No real major battles happening out on the track as they run right now. Christopher Norris, Noah Steele, Isaac Shelley. That's one of the closer ones happening on track. I want to give a quick shout out before we get into the real closing laps of tonight's event. Sam Garcia, when we last spoke about him at the halfway marker of tonight's event, he was down in 22nd. He's made his way back up into a top 10 running spot on speed. So that number 50 Toyota Supra having a good night, as well as Scott Rickard, who currently runs a little bit in front of him, and that 05 currently runs 9th. Ali Fonseca was kind of missed out here this evening. Looks like he's going to come home just outside the top 10.
That he is in P11. Still a solid run from where he started this race, up 12 positions from that initial start. A race that has really, it's kind of been a tale of two halves. The halves have been pretty similar, but a very distinct moment partway through this race, halfway through this race, a little over halfway, where we kind of had one set of contenders, and then we wound up with a different set of contenders after the mayhem of that big incident down into turn 1. A little over halfway into this race. It's going to be popsicle sticks in the air. 2 laps to go now for Ryan Kelly. Driver 13, who I did just get confirmation from, is still searching for career win number 1.
3 miles of racing to go for Ryan Kelly as he's going to make his way around. He's got Jared Talmadge directly behind him, not for position, and over a 2-second gap to second place Chris Stitz. So if you're just him, you're just hoping to see the white flag here in about another 11 seconds. We'll see Ryan Kelly come across turns 3 and 4 for the penultimate time out here this evening, and he's going to see the white flag here at Homestead.
One more time around for that 13 Camaro. Ryan Kelly out here has taken an opportunity and seized it to its fullest, has been absolutely phenomenal on the long runs, on the old tires here at a very hot and sunny day in Miami, Florida, through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. It is going to be the first time the driver 13, Ryan Kelly, secures a checkered flag and wins in the Trinity Racing League.
Ryan Kelly, the race winner out here this evening after starting 6th, going to take the checkered flag here tonight. Anytime we can get a first winner here, a first-time winner on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network, Arie, the first ones are ones you remember.
Yeah, the first ones are, in a lot of ways, the most special. Ryan Kelly going to get the job done tonight. This is going to be a popular win, I am sure. Comes home 1-2 with teammate Chris Stitz in the 17. Those two putting on a show in the closing laps. Nolan Hicks rounds out our podium. We'll get words with all 3 of our podium finishers out here tonight. And I tell you what, as these drivers congratulate driver 13, he gets ready to do some burnouts. Why don't we pull up our race winner in the moment? Ryan Kelly, congratulations. You are officially a Trinity race winner.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Battling my teammate there at the end and getting those long green flag runs. So fun race there and having to come out on top.
Absolutely. I tell you what, on those long runs, it looked like you were able to just kind of find another gear. Was there anything in particular out here tonight in Miami that you felt like you were able to get on top of? Was it something that you knew ahead of time or something that you learned in the middle of the race?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was definitely, the car was definitely on the tighter side tonight. So I had cranked the brake bias all the way to the back there, and it was definitely helping the car turn on the long run. and I was messing with that in practice, and I think it really helped in the race. And yeah, just helped on the long runs there. And thankfully, we got a few long runs there to help me out.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, you have had some strong showings out here this season. You're finally able to come out here and get it done here in Miami. We're getting ready to head to Darlington in 1 week's time. How are you feeling about Darlington next week, especially coming off of a win now that you've got this momentum in the bank?
Yeah, the momentum will definitely help. Similar track with the tire wear and such, so looking forward to that one, and the rest of the season here should be going.
Alrighty, well, I tell you what, before we let you go and celebrate with the team, Ryan, we're going to open up the floor to give any hays and highs to people you might have watching and any shout-outs you might want to give as well.
Yeah, some family watching tonight, and thanks to my teammates, and you guys for putting on the show, and everyone who runs the league, and looking forward to next week.
Alrighty, there is our big race winner on the night, Ryan Kelly, first time race winner in the Trinity Racing League. That brings us to, I suppose, P2. I think Thomas caught up with Chris Stitz.
We got second place Chris Stitz out here tonight. Started second, finished second, Chris. 1 spot short here at Homestead. Maybe, I don't know, you could have really done anything differently there to try to catch Ryan, your teammate, for the win here at Homestead.
No, I don't think I could have done anything different either. I mean, I was giving it my all there at the end, trying every different line I could, but Ryan was, he was fast today. He had a rocket ship, and he was gone, and hats off to him. He did a great job.
Yeah, we saw at one point you guys were side by side down into turn number 1, down the backstretch, and it looked like maybe you had an opportunity because for a couple of laps there, you were faster than Ryan Kelly, as was the majority of the drivers behind you. What'd you guys think down there in turns 1 and 2? Could you have maybe done anything a little bit different trying to make that pass? It's so difficult to pass on the inside.
Yeah, I think I probably could have just played the waiting game a little more. I was just right on his bumper and making him use his tires up more than he wanted, and I think once I made that move, I just overheated my right front a little bit. I actually joked to him because we're on the same team, so we're in the same chat. I was like, I think that dive bomb cost me like 5% on my right front. You got it.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to accept what you see out that windshield, but you're going to finish second out here this evening. We only got a handful of races before we get to the playoffs here, beginning in a couple of weeks here. We got Darlington, Pocono, Sonoma, Charlotte, Dover. How you feeling about your next 5 or 6 races before we get into the championship run?
I'm feeling pretty confident in honestly all those tracks. Darlington, I've put in a lot of work at just trying to be better at that track. It's so tough to be good there, and hopefully looking for a good finish there. And the other ones, I've run time and time again, so hopefully experience can carry me a little bit more in those races. But I really like finally getting back up to the front. It's like I feel like my win at Atlanta, I haven't seen really the top 5 since then, so it's been a little bit of a cold stretch, but getting back into it and just looking to keep this momentum just straight into the playoffs.
Well, don't think anybody would hang their head over a second place finish out here tonight, as the playoffs loom in about 6 to 7 weeks. And Chris, before we let you run and go celebrate with Ryan on his first win, gonna let you open up the floor. Anybody want to say hello to you back home watching you get a second place here? The floor is all yours.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys up here in the booth doing a great job. Look forward to go back and just see how all the race played out. I saw a couple things happen I definitely need to go check out. Thank you to everyone who runs this league. They've done a great job. Only on our second season, I feel like we're still getting consistent car counts, which is awesome. And I know Josh and Nick put in a lot of work, so hats off to them. And thank you to my yin yang teammates, Larry, Ryan, and Joshua. They've done a great job all season, and I mean, Ryan backed it up with a win tonight, so let's hope we can get all of us into the playoffs this season.
All right. Thank you for the kind words, Chris. And yes, a big tip of the hat to the league of administrators here, helping these drivers get out here every single week. And I believe we have got our 3rd place finisher. That's going to be Nolan Hicks. And I think Arie's down at the drive-thru at Taco Bell.
That's right. I down at the drive-thru at Taco Bell. That's a new one. I've pulled up to the drive-thru window at Taco Bell with Nolan Hicks, finisher in P3, out here tonight. I got a couple of things. I'm finally able to interview you from up here in the booth, Nolan. First things first, you've got my favorite car out on track because Taco Bell is my favorite fast food restaurant, and I do love some purple. So that's the first bit.
Yeah.
The second bit is it looked like you were able to pull... I think the most interesting line that we were able to see out here tonight when the long run started to happen down into turn 1 and 2, you had a line so unlike what I had seen out of anybody else, where you kind of took that shallow entry, let it wash all the way up to the wall and carry that momentum down the back straightaway. Is that something that you knew ahead of time, or did you just kind of figure that out as the race went on?
Yeah, I was telling my teammates Brandon Gass and Noah Steele, I was telling them about that line, and I was like, hey, this kind of works, and like it doesn't really like burn your tires like too bad. And so like as the run progressed, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm not getting anywhere behind like dirty air, so I was like, I'm gonna start doing this line, and I just get to the outside quarter of them, wash all the way up to the wall, and then just hammer the throttle and like take all the momentum and pretty much pass them.
Absolutely. I tell you what, that's what it looked like from up here. You definitely came alive on those long runs. Do you think there was anything else that you needed, or maybe had it gone a little differently, that you could have gotten up there and challenged the 13 of Ryan Kelly, or even earlier in the race, like the 27 or the 3? Was there anything you felt like you were lacking, or did it really just kind of come down to track position?
I think like early on in like short run, they had definitely a better like short run and like longevity of like speed, but I'll say this, I had nothing for the 13. I had no idea what kind of line he was running. He told me in the waiting room that he was just drifting pretty much every corner. I'm like, what? And so yeah, he told me his tire wear, and I had nowhere even close to what his tire wear was, so I don't think I had anything for Ryan Kelly tonight. I think best I could have done was second, if maybe I could have caught up to Stitz, but time just ran out for me.
Well, I tell you what, you still come home with a solid podium result in tonight's event, and what was a calm and, for one lap, very chaotic race. Before we let you go and celebrate with the team, we'll open up the floor to give any haze, highs, or shout-outs you may have.
Yeah, thank you guys in the broadcast. Obviously, me and you are going to have to go to Taco Bell soon for this podium finish. Thank my girlfriend, thank my family for always supporting me, and thank my teammates Brandon and Noah for helping me out with getting race ready.
All right, there we have it. P3 finisher Nolan Hicks, congrats again. And with that, we have our top 3 results here tonight. Tom, wow, I'm kind of speechless at at that race as a whole, but just I'm really curious to find out what's going to develop as a result of do we call it a rivalry now between the 27 and the 3?
I think we very well could. So it's one of the nights that it's great to be up here as a broadcaster, and we'll follow the stories, and anything that develops we'll bring to you next week at Darlington. 160 laps in the book here at Homestead. 7 races, 6 different winners out here in the Trinity Racing League. So it's going to be fun to watch, Arie, and I think we've got a possibility for another first-time winner next week.
We absolutely do. Lots of great drivers out here on. I'm not gonna take that one and put myself on that hot seat. There's a lot of great drivers out here. I'll be looking for a top 5. I got to put that Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network car to. I got to get it some good TV time out there on track. It is my favorite track too at Darlington. So we'll see what we can do. See what we can do in the 26 out there next week. I'll be looking forward to getting down there with these guys. But either way, I think we're ready. Let's take a look at our final results out here for tonight's event. We spoke to the top 3, but to recap it, Ryan Kelly, first-time winner in the Trinity Racing League out here tonight, ahead of Chris Stitz in P2. Nolan Hicks rounds out that podium. We got Chris Norris in P4, and Noah Steele finishes in P5. Isaac Shelley comes home in 6th. Larry Yingling, very quiet night for the 67. He's going to finish in a solid 7th place position ahead of Josh Stovall. Scott Richter in P9, and rounding out the top 10, Samuel Garcia.
Ali Fonseca finishes 11th out here tonight, with Joshua Sawyer in 12th after a couple of early race incidents. Good rebound for a top 12 for Josh. Mike Miller going to come home in 13th from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Justin Campbell Started in the back and was never really able to make his way forward tonight. Finishes 14th. Chris Stamper in the 53 finishes 15th. Josh Kanata, 16 for car number 16. Clint Cox comes home 17th. Ryan Bird finishes 18th. And the top 20 is rounded out by Mark Labertone and Cedric Hunter.
21st, it's going to be Thomas Green ahead of Jared Talmadge in 22nd. Cody Reed comes home 23rd. Thomas Walter in P24. Brandon Gass 25th. And rounding out the field of 27, we have Ben Kinney and Stephen Clapp.
All right, Arie, drivers going to begin to make their way out of Homestead-Miami Speedway, but the big winner out here tonight going to be Ryan Kelly, a first-time winner here in the Trinity Racing League from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for a Monday night. If you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, hit that like button, click the thumbs up, hit the bell, click the subscribe, get notified every single time we go live. We're here multiple nights a week on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network. Arie, I guess we'll be doing this again tomorrow, and then we'll be doing it again next week from Darlington Raceway.
That's right. Looking forward to it. See you all in 1 week at Darlington. And I'm looking forward to running out on there on track. We'll see what we can do.